support this, people see it, they get into it, and we start. So it just takes, I'm sure next year I'll see you running as well. Yeah, so once we see it happen, I mean, other people join in. Yeah, it's the best way to start moving, so really healthy. So I think 100% everybody should support. If you're not here this year, please be here next year. Other runs as well throughout the year, other people organize runs. So if you miss this one, there's still opportunities for you to get fit and healthy. So let's up on here.
No, so
next year?
Oh yeah, I'll be next year 42, inshallah.
No, so you're a big man, you know.
Oh, wow.
You know, it's exciting seeing you here, right? Because like I was saying, I know him, he's done so much, right? And to also be a part of this clearly tells your commitment towards it. But before you go, maybe some final words to our viewers out there. You've talked about why this is important, why we need to run. But beyond that, you know, people are watching. Why should Absa committed a lot to this, right? They say your story matters. So for those out there, next year, what will be your final message to them?
I think I'll just reiterate what I said earlier. I mean, we are in an age where we are seeing a lot of health issues, lifestyle-related diseases, and this is one of the best ways to combat it. So I think everybody should move. There's no age limits. Like, you can't be too young or too old. Just start moving. If you come and walk, if you walk the 10K, it'll take you about 2 hours. I'm sure everybody can do a 2-hour walk. So we're seeing people in wheelchairs. You know, I saw somebody who, I'm sure she's like 80-something years old. You know, so we saw, like you said, we saw some kids as well. So I think everybody should just join us next year. Look out for me. I'll be here as well.
Amazing.
Every other run I'll be there. So yeah, everybody move. I beg you.
Zoo, I must just say, hosts the Stay by Plan podcast. Just about the most popular podcast we have around, and it's important because you talk about the health aspect of this. Absa, beyond this, is also supporting health causes as a result of this, right? So they are pushing a dialysis awareness campaign and also helping with treatment costs for some patients. So hopefully we get to talk about this on Stay by Plan.
Oh, yeah.
If be necessary.
Yes, Absa, if you're watching, contact me.
Amazing too. Absolutely a pleasure having you. Amazing. So
see, all he's saying is you absolutely have no excuse not to run, to move your body. It's not necessarily run. You can walk. Just, you know, come outdoors and do something. Leave the screens for an hour and walk or run or something, so that, you know, you don't fall sick unnecessarily, because most of these illnesses are due to a lack of us not running, a lack of us not moving our body.
For me,
and all of that.
Listening to our friends, you know, we just spoke to from China, we are being told, they tell me that they traveled all the way from China just to get Prince, who was the elder one, and Robert, who was the younger one to run in the race.
What's your name?
Please, Elam Tete.
Elam, how was it?
Please, it was a bit competitive.
It was a bit competitive? You went for the 10K, right?
Yes, please.
Tell me about it. What was going through your mind as you went round the lap?
Like, I should hurry up and come for the prize. Now maybe I'll be first. Yes, please.
Were you first? It doesn't matter. You still took part and you enjoyed yourself, right?
Yes, please.
So you'll be back next year?
Yes, please.
But why do you think it's important to run?
So we can stay fit and also
I love that. Ella, enjoy yourself. I'm happy that you took part. Congratulations. I will definitely see you next year. See? No excuse. Absolutely no excuse not to take part in a run or a marathon or a walk or a sprint or a crawl. Right, so we're live at the Black Star Square. This is the Absa Black Star Marathon, Ghana's premier marathon, and we're live on Channel 1 TV. I am Eno Safo and I'm here with
Jude Duncan. I'm now regretting my decision not to run.
Why?
Because there's a different level of fulfillment. Interviewing some of the runners, there's a different level of fulfillment completing the race. It's not necessarily about winning. It's not necessarily about coming out on top or a podium finish. It's about the shared determination, the grit, the show of energy, picking up yourself even when all odds are against you. And these are very important values I'm learning from this. And I'm so glad that Absa have been able to spearhead this. They say your story matters, and we've seen it play out indeed. We've seen Mohammed Fadiga, who ran as a para athlete in this particular race for the 10-kilometer race. Listen to his story. He wasn't really sure what the future held for him, but he decided to sign up, and today he's a champion. And this is only the beginning because he's quite young. So you can imagine what can be if you are supporting talents like this, if you are supporting, people like this. And I'm so confident that this is the way to go. This is a step in the right direction. Joining us. It's funny because on a normal Saturday morning, sometimes around this time we'll be having him join us.
It's actually Sunday mornings.
Well, I'm just saying, sometimes you will have him join us. He's been on the show a couple of times on Saturdays.
The weather. So what's the weather looking like, Gabby?
Well, I think it's going to be more sunny today. We started with a bit of the cloudy start, a bit of showers, but I think the weather is good for, today's big event. Yeah.
We love it. So we're going to be handing over to the sports crew shortly. What do you guys have in store for us for the rest of the Absa Black Star Marathon?
Well, I think it's been a very good opening few hours. I've seen some professional athletes. Rafael Bucho in Quebec, a very, very renowned para athlete. He's done a lot of great things for the Paralympic sports. Under the Ghana Paralympic Committee and everything. I've seen some recreational runners who I think that have put a lot of seriousness into this to get this going. Probably for some of these people, it's not an everyday activity, and they have probably taken this huge opportunity to do this. So it's a big event that I think that will go all the way. I've seen some top people around. I saw the NSA boys around, Jan Pofwanka.
Who, by the way, is just standing right across us.
Yes, the founder of the Absa Black Star Marathon is also around. So it's a big thing. What I'm only concerned about is, this will go all the way. I've not seen the Ghana Olympic Committee president around. I don't know what communication the Black Star Marathon has they've had with the Ghana Olympic Committee, but I think it's been a very, very feel good outing.
Wow. Let me take your thoughts on the preparations, right? We moved past the bar. Looking at what went into this, what will be your impressions about the event so far? From the organization, the arrangements, the commencement of the race, we are now heading towards the end of the first set of race. What's be your impressions around everything that's happened so far?
Well, I think the organization hasn't been bad. Starting around 6:40. The president was around to grace the occasion to start everything afresh. And like I said, people are well looking forward to this big event. I'm sure people are putting a lot of that work to get this rolling. I think this will go all the way to be something big. I've heard some people calling for this to be held in other regions. This probably is a big start, and then we can look forward to extending it to some other regions. So, nobody knows. I think we could even go on and get the next big athlete here, whether it's the 10 km or the 42.2 km. We can go on and get, because I've seen kids from somewhere around 18 to above. Who knows, this could be their big shot of starting something great in terms of covering long distance and stuff. And I think I've really been impressed with this. They are trying to get this in comparison with some of the big marathons we've seen, like the Berlin Marathon, the Shanghai Marathon, and all these things. So I think it's a good start.
Amazing. Let me take your thoughts on the quality of the race, right, from a sports perspective, because we saw the first runners for the 10 kilometer make their way, and about 20 minutes later we saw other people come. Of course, some are not necessarily here to win, it's to keep fit. But what has been your impressions about the runners so far?
Look, Jude, it's not about how fast or how quick you start. I think the most important thing is how best you can finish. When they took off, I was paying particular attention to some of the runners, the way they started. I realized that some people were walking, some also wanted to be ahead. Maybe they have this mindset that, okay, let me just give my other opponent some big gap, and then I can keep up with that momentum I've started. But I don't think that's the best way. Well, if you ask the professional artists, they'll tell you that you have to start at a slow pace, and then when you get into the finish line, you can up the tempo and cross. So I think those were some of the things I paid a particular attention to. when you realize those who got to, the runners who went for the 10 km, a lot of people were gassed out, so you could see some falling off at the finish line. But it was all fun.
Amazing, Gabby. I'll come at you. A minute. We'll come to it. Yeah, what are your impressions?
For Anchor shortly.
Is he ready?
Yes, he is ready. He was just waiting for us to finish talking to Gabby. But we're going to be picking his thoughts shortly on this whole Absa Black Star Marathon experience. His thoughts on the whole the experience, what he's seen so far, what his thoughts are, and how ready he is, how ready the Black Star experience is to sponsor the whole thing. So yeah, Jan Pavanka will be joining us shortly.
So we'll be joined by him shortly. Okay, he's making his way here.
He's making his way towards us. Hi.
No, you're a big man.
Big man.
Yes, sir. I saw you right very early in the morning when the president got here. You even got here before him.
Hey, you have to be the president.
And you've been here all throughout, monitoring things for yourself. What's been your assessment of everything that's happened there from the very start up until now?
Thanks. I'm really happy about the coverage. You guys are doing a great job, and it brings more people on board. It's not just those of us who are here physically. Really good. It's a great organization, beautiful. You really can't go wrong with such a setup. I think obviously we're trying to touch base with the ecosystem, the sports, recreation ecosystem, and also everybody who's involved plays a very important role. So for me, it's been excellent so far.
I've said people say that beyond this, government has a role in supporting to take this to the next level. I'm sure from your experience you agree with some of these calls.
For sure. Now we have the Ministry of Sports and Recreation, which basically means that we don't want to leave anyone out. Everybody gets involved in recreation, from very young kids, toddlers, to adults and senior citizens. So we need to embrace all of that. And you can see people coming through, walking through calm, relaxed. Others really want to win the race. The professionals are here, both local and international. So the ecosystem must be broadened, not to leave anyone out. And that's exactly what Absa is trying to do.
Beyond this, though, they're also donating to a worthy cause. What are your thoughts on that?
Absolutely, very necessary. Sports is not just about winning. It's about participation, it's about impacts, it's about memories. And if you can't get everybody here physically at one time, there's a way you can connect with communities and institutions through the CSR, corporate social responsibility, and making sure that you touch lives with whatever you're doing. So for me, that is also the icing on the cake.
The president mentioned that government was going to play a more pronounced role going forward next year. We have a sense of the government is going to have in this next year. Well, I'm sure if the presidency was not traveling,
he's got a very tight schedule. If he was not traveling this very morning, I'm sure he would have participated. And the idea is that, those of us who are in that space, we have to play any role that we can. The minister is in Morocco with the girls, and I'm here with everybody else to encourage and make sure that we enjoy the day. So most definitely, as part of the reset, as you know, again, nobody must be left out. So across the 16 regions, regardless of your age or background, you need to get involved.
Amazing.
And the president is very committed to that, as you can see by him being here as early as 6 a.m.
Amazing. Final words, final thoughts going forward.
I think again, the media, you guys are doing a great job, because we need to carry that message across, and I'm loving the coverage. I see that you've got really
Everything must change. 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 What is it that makes a person want to stay in power forever? What is it that makes a person want to stay in power forever? What is the reason for a man to want to force his will upon our lives? What is the reason for a man to want to force his will upon our lives? Oh, everything must change. 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 Change is forever. Genesis of Eve, why don't you get away from here? Genesis of Eve, why don't you get away from here? Hey, Charlie Taylor, why don't you get away from here? Hey, Charlie Taylor, why don't you get away from here? Oromoyi, when are you gonna say goodbye? Oromoyi, when are you gonna say goodbye? Hey, Robert Mugabe.
Hello, very good morning to you. Welcome to The Big Issue on 97.3 Citi FM. I am Selom Adunu. The show, as always, is the platform for incisive analysis and riveting conversation. You can join the discussion live via our WhatsApp line 0549 986 996 0549 986 996, and we'll be happy to share your views with the rest of the world. We're looking at two key issues. Of course, the media budget review was presented to Parliament earlier in the week on Thursday or so, and the finance minister had a lot to tell Ghanaians. It does appear that from his books things are looking really good. What do you feel? What do you say? He says that all the indicators are pointing northwards. Inflation is down. Quite a number of things. The Citi is doing very well, appreciating in excess of 42% when you compare it to the dollar. That also means that the prices of goods and services, he says, have also come down. He's given a number of examples. Konkonte, etc., have had their prices driven down. Are you feeling that in your pockets? We also look at the debt situation, the public spending. The criticism against him initially was that government wasn't spending, but he's detailed out, a comprehensive list of things government is spending on. It says government is spending, but the difference now is that government is spending in the right areas. What does that mean? And how long can we continue with this? Is this a novelty? The way the economy is performing, is it really performing well, or it is something we see when regimes change? We will also delve into that as the show wears on. Earlier in the week as well, the Attorney General filed a nolle prosequi against, in the matter of the Republic versus Kwabena Dufo and 7 others, which essentially means that the state is no longer interested in pursuing that criminal matter against them. If you recall, Dr. Dufo, former finance minister, former founder of the Unibank, and a few others were hauled before the court because they had misappropriated or used some funding given to them to help revive the Unibank in the manner the state feels was improper, and that was irregular, and so the state was on their case. The criminal matter had traveled for quite some time after the bank was collapsed in 2018 by the BOG. Now, the Attorney General says that the monies have been paid largely, and so there will be no need to continue with the prosecution. Indeed, it's not the first time the Attorney General is withdrawing or filing nolle prosequi in matters the state is interested in. What are the bigger issues? We'll look at all of that this morning. This is The Big Issue, once again on 97.3 Citi FM, on our socials as well. And we'll take a short break. When we return, I will provide you some updates, introduce my guests, and then we'll hit a discussion. Don't go away. doing something wrong, the person pays back the money. That should be the end. Shouldn't the person be punished? Of course, there are various views on that. We will look at them, as the show grows. This is the big issue on 97.3 Citi FM. Let me provide you some updates on the matters. I introduce my guests, then we hit the discussion running. Now, the Finance Minister, Dr. Kisila Tuforsin, has disclosed that a nationwide payroll audit has uncovered significant irregularities in the Ghana public sector salary administration, including over 14,000 unverified workers and 53,307 separated staff still on the payroll. Presenting the 2025 media budget review in Parliament, Dr. Forson said the Ghana Audit Service, commissioned by the Ministry of Finance, has completed 91% of the comprehensive payroll audit across all 16 regions. This is a report by Channel 1 News' Ni Ayiku Okan.
Media budget review by the Finance Minister, Dr. Kasiela Tuforsin. The minority caucus staged a walkout in Parliament after being denied the opportunity to make a statement on the electoral violence that marred the rerun of the parliamentary election at 19 polling stations in the Ablekuma North constituency.
Mr. Speaker, we have lined up a number of activities to back home our demand, and to the extent that these violence visitors are not at home, we cannot be part of the presentation of the media budget. To that extent, we are exiting the parliament and cannot be part of the process.
Despite the protest, the presentation proceeded as the House met the quorum required for parliamentary business. In his address, Dr. Atuforsen disclosed that a payroll audit conducted by the Audit Service uncovered approximately 14,000 ghost names on the public sector payroll.
Mr. Speaker, the Audit Service has completed 91% of the payroll audit. So far, the Audit Service has not been able to identify or verify over 14,000 workers. Mr. Speaker, again, they have identified 53,311 separated staff on the payroll. Mr. Speaker, separated staffs are staff who are either on retirement, reassigned, terminated, or are on leave without pay, or deceased, and yet remain on government payroll. Mr. Speaker, the Audit Service expects to recover a minimum of 150.4 million of unearned salary from the separated staff over 2023 and 2024 period alone. Right Honorable Speaker, going forward, we will enforce the monthly payroll validation process and strictly apply sanctions to all who validate ghosts for payment of salaries. Mr. Speaker, let me use this opportunity to strongly caution those who validate ghosts across the public service, that they will be personally liable for the loss of public funds.
The Finance Minister further revealed that some contractors had abandoned about 55 infrastructure projects despite having already drawn down on the allocated loans.
Mr. Speaker, it has come to the attention of the Ministry of Finance that a number of contractors implementing some of these 55 stalled projects have drawn down on the loans with no work done to match the amount drawn down. Mr. Speaker, sadly, it has come to the attention of the Ministry of Finance that a number of contractors implementing some of these 55 projects have drawn down on the loans with no work done to match the amount drawn down. Again, some contractors have submitted additional costs in excess of what Parliament approved. The Ministry of Finance has accordingly commissioned a forensic audit into this project. Mr. Speaker, we will apprise the House when this audit is completed.
Atuforsen announced a new directive halting the denomination of public contracts in foreign currencies, a move he said is necessary to reduce fiscal risk and enhance macroeconomic stability.
Unfortunately, foreign currencies are becoming the means of transacting business in Ghana. This trend, if not checked, will erode the confidence in our currency, drive inflation, and result in the loss of value in the symbol of our sovereignty. Mr. Speaker, to curb this, To curb this unfortunate development, His Excellency, President John Dramani Mahama, has directed that beginning today, 24th of July 2025, no contract awarded by government, irrespective of source of fund, should be denominated in foreign currency.
Now, the government is set to rehabilitate 10 kilometers of roads annually in each of the 166 constituencies identified as having urgent road infrastructure needs, he added.
The President Mahama administration has identified 166 constituencies in dire need of road. In response, we have programmed to rehabilitate 10 kilometers of roads annually in each of these constituencies. Mr. Speaker, this translates to about 5,000 kilometers of road to be constructed in these 166 constituencies in dire need of road infrastructure over the next 3 years.
All right, so that was Finance Minister, I nearly said Ken Ofuriatta, but Atto Forcing, reading the budget and making a number of points. My guest this morning, the Honorable Chunubu Akodia Foko, Member of Parliament for Mansum Kwanta in the Ashanti region, as a former Managing Director for the National Investment Bank. Nelson Kujo Kwagbeji, who is Head of Finance at Maybank Capital. Franklin Kujo, President Imani Africa, and will also be joined by Isa Atta, Member of Parliament for Sagnarugu on the ticket of the NDC. Gentlemen, you are welcome to the program.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yes, I want to quickly start off from what happened, the dramatic incident, minority walking out from Parliament, stating some reasons. Let's quickly listen to what the minority said before they walked out. So we begin on that note quickly, then we zoom into the budget proper.
Clad in black to register their protest, members of the minority caucus walked out of Parliament and headed to the Lebanon embassy, where they presented a petition to the Dean of the Diplomatic Corps. The petition focused on two major concerns: the violence that erupted during the Ablikman North election rerun and the devastating impacts of illegal mining. Their next stop was the Jubilee House. The minority delegation presented a similar petition to the President, received on his behalf by Deputy Chief of Staff Stan Dogbe.
We are here to present this petition and to appeal for your patriotic intervention in these matters. We have confidence in you. We believe you will act. Now, we hear you have 2/3 majority in Parliament. We heard that. But you also need a minority in Parliament to function. Now, if we don't hear anything, and it is business as usual, it is absolute silence, we are not going to hear anything, this is just the beginning of series of actions we are going to stage in this country. But we won't do anything out of malice to undermine your governance. But as long as the threat of electoral violence keeps rearing its head, and our authorities seem to be at their wit's end, we'll continue to bring these matters into your attention until it is dealt with.
So I've received your petition on behalf of the Chief of Staff and the President, and we'll do what to present it to him. Thank you.
The final stop was the offices of the Coalition of Domestic Election Observers, CODEO. Receiving the petition, leading member Reverend Fred Degbe pledged CODEO's commitment to work with relevant stakeholders to address the concerns raised.
CODEO issued a statement condemning the violence we saw and the inaction of the police, and hoping and praying that one of these days Ghana will come to the point where we've been lauded for having good elections, but we think we should come to a point where it becomes a strictly civil society activity. You go to some countries, nobody calls the police, nobody calls the army. Sometimes it's just a normal thing that people go and vote and go back home. So if we keep lauding ourselves that we are the epitome of democracy and this is what we see, definitely we as CODEO are not happy about it.
All right, so that's a report put together by Charles Kumi on the minority walkout, what they went to do and etc. They walked out, went to the presidency, presented a petition to the president through the deputy chief of staff, Stan Dogbe. They went to other places as well. Gentlemen, let me start off with honorable member for Manso Kwanta, the Trinibua Kodua Foko. Many have said that this walkout was unnecessary indeed. Lawyer Jantua said it was infantile. Why did you have to walk out on an occasion like this, especially as you had done a similar thing when the Ablekuma North MP was being sworn in? Was it very necessary to do so at this time?
Yeah. Thank you, Salam, and good morning to listeners and viewers. Yes, I mean the minority walked out when the Ablekuma North elected MP was to be sworn in, and we had a strong reason for doing that. And the reason is, I mean, Ghanaians witnessed what happened in Ablekuma North when we had a rerun. It was just about 19 polling stations that we had to do a rerun. It wasn't an election about the entire country, 19 polling stations to rerun. And we saw what happened, the mayhem that happened around just 19 polling stations. Security officers, either by design, not being able to provide the necessary security for just 19 polling stations. I mean, what happened was an eyesore. We all saw it on TV beaming around, attacks that happened. We expected the father of the nation, the president, to come out and say something, to condemn the atrocities that happened. But nothing of such happened, which, I mean, if you interpret that, then meaning maybe then it was okay. But that was not okay. Whoever watched what happened on TV would bear me out that what happened was untoward, and for just 19 polling stations. So
but that the particular incident we're talking about happened in only one polling station?
It happened in one polling station, but it was about a rerun of 19 polling stations, and we couldn't ensure there was tight security around 19 polling stations. If that even makes our case stronger, if what happened at just one polling station. So just that one polling station, we couldn't provide enough security. And what we saw on TV, those that watched from their homes, I mean, you could see security personnel were around. It wasn't like they were not around. They were around, but no action at all. And afterwards, no message from the president at all. So if this mayhem happens and nothing is heard from the president at all, immediately after that, and even after some time, after all this happened, then why should the minority accept this as normal? We have one election, I mean, by-election also pending. Is that what we are condoning and preparing for? Akwetia is going to happen. Is that what we are I mean, preparing for? That whatever happened in Ablekuma North was okay. We should let it go, and well, we should all arm ourselves. I mean, for Akwetia or what? What are we telling the nation?
But is it a case that nothing is being done about the situation, or the authorities that be are on top of the situation? So, for example, on the day of the event, yes, we condemn the event, despicable. That should never have a place in our democracy, etc. We condemn it, and we've condemned it on this platform the day it happened, and subsequently we've condemned it. I have condemned it as well. So on the day of the event, the Minister for Interior and the one with responsibility for national security, Muntaka, was with Hawa Kumsim. They went to the police station. He was with Hawa Kumsim for a while. Indeed, Hawa Kumsim herself, had cause to eulogize or to thank the Interior Minister for his support. So the Interior Minister is an agent of the president. So that has been done. Number two, the IGP, who works under the Interior Minister, has set in motion a certain process. We understand 2 or so people have been picked up, and investigation is ongoing. So what else should happen? What else should happen?
Yeah, Salam, the issue is, you see, you have to look at addressing issues, attending to issues before they even happen. Okay, we knew we were going for this rerun, 19 polling stations. We've talked about Ablekumanov for a while and all that. I mean, there were tensions. We have to be, realistic about it. So are we saying we couldn't prepare enough for 19 polling stations? Are we saying at the time that these were going on, the security personnel, it was just that they were not enough, or they were not ready, or they were not capable, or what? It does seem, if you look at things practically, that, okay, let this happen. Afterwards, we come in and as usual say, yeah, it was unfortunate, blah, 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 and all that. This could have been prevented, because we are talking about just 19 polling stations. And what happened at just one of those polling stations. So we could have prevented this. We could have really, easily.
If I hear you, so your point is about the prevention. We could have prevented
exactly,
it, and not necessarily about the president.
It's all encapsulated. So we should have prevented this, because it's just 19 polling stations. We've done elections for the entire country. Severally. So we should have prevented it. And even after it happened, the president should have come out.
Notwithstanding the fact that his agents were working.
Notwithstanding. And why should this even happen in the first place?
So things happen. It could have been one police station, but things happen.
Things happen. But what I'm saying is, yes, you could commission an inquiry. You could cause the arrest of certain personalities and whatever. That's fine. But what I'm saying is, one, why couldn't we prevent this if we really meant to ensure there was security around these 19?
But there was security there. We saw the police officers. They were just overpowered by the hoodlums, by the attackers. That was what happened. There were quite a number of police people there.
The entire country, those that watch on TV, saw what happened, and you would bear me out that really. If the security personnel really wanted to do something, they could have done something. You could see security personnel that were walking about, standing, and as if they were doing something. If really they were determined to ensure there was security, there was safety of persons that went there to either vote or witness what was going on, I believe they could have done so. And be as it may, it happened right afterwards. The number one statesman of this nation, you would expect that right away he will come out to condemn what happened. But if you wait, yes, the victory has been, whatever, we've snatched the seat, and after that, whatever happens, okay, investigation, whatever, but we've snatched the seat, we've even sworn in the person. The rest is history. So the fact that we couldn't prevent, and we could have, we couldn't prevent what happened, and afterwards, no message from the number one statesman of the nation. And you talked about the Interior Minister, Honorable Muntaka and all that. If you look at it, it was after all those incidents that they went in. I'm sure they were also probably watching. I'm not blaming it.
But they were all on the ground.
No, I get it, but
of course they couldn't have been there whilst the thing. They were not there when the thing was happening. They couldn't have been there.
Probably they were on the ground. I saw the defense minister also going in there.
Yes.
But if you go in after the incident, really,
is it a point that they should have been there whilst the thing was happening, or they should have rushed there whilst the thing was happening?
The entire security apparatus of a country is really expected to do a lot. Okay, you gather intelligence, you prepare well, there's a backup and all that, but you don't go in when it has happened to make some statements and all that.
People like, security analysts like Richard Kumado and co have said that the recovery, even though the event was bad, the recovery was good. So they recovered quickly, and that was how come we saw a smooth running of the election today. And this happened around 11 or 12 noon, and elections went on till about 4 p.m. So they recovered quickly and had reinforcement, and they were able to avert similar occurrences at other polling stations, even at the same polling station.
So, look, we've conducted elections severally in this country. Like I said, we conducted the last election supervised by the government that was in power across the country with minimal, violence and issues. Okay, so if you're a government in power and you were conducting elections just around 19 polling stations, what happened shouldn't have happened. That is a fact.
I see.
Whether it was at one polling station out of the 19 or it was whatever, it shouldn't have happened at all. And it shouldn't happen, and then you go in later to sort of console or whatever.
Honorable, will you say that the same condemnation you are giving government on this instance extends to what we saw also in Ayawaso West Wuogon? Not to equalize, but Ayawaso West Wuogon was state security unleashed on armed civilians. These were civilians on both sides, having an issue, bad in both senses. But in Ayawaso West Wuogon, we saw armed national security officers, very unknown to a lot of us, come to the place, in fact, even attacking a sitting member of parliament. That was a different matter. So are you extending will you extend the same condemnation to your government, which oversaw that by-election? Because you said the previous government oversaw even general elections within cities. But we saw Ayawaso West Wuogon also happen in just one polling station. Will you extend the same condemnation to them?
Yeah, my brother, you see, you learn from history. You learn a lot from history. Ayawaso, whatever happened, yes, we learned from it. So the expectation...
So you condemn it?
No, if violence happened, then, people were in one way or the other, hurt. Of course, as humans, you don't want your fellow human to be hurt or attacked or whatever. So, on those ones, we learn from them. So
I'm not hearing your condemnation for that.
What I'm saying is, of course, we don't want those. Once I'm saying we don't want those to happen, it means it's not something that we accept. We want elections to be free, fair, without violence and all that. So if Ayawaso Wuogon happened, there were issues, you would expect that as a nation we would have learned from that. I believe
many have said that the seats were sown at the Ayawaso, especially as a commission of inquiry was subsequently constituted to look into the matter. White paper issued, report issued, white paper issued, etc. But no concrete step, nothing has been done to help solve the situation. The persons who were injured, the persons who were the commission recommended to be seen or addressed in a certain manner, nothing of that nature had happened. So those people are still hurting, and people trace this to that. Do you agree that if we had solved Ayawaso West Wuogon in a conclusive manner, we wouldn't have seen this, and that the seats were sown there? Will you agree?
Yeah, Salam. What I'm saying is, you see, we learn as humans.
So we didn't learn, and the seats have come. If you sow the wheel, the wind, you reap the whirlwind.
You see, the people. At that time, yes. Ayawaso Wuogon, NPP was in power, NDC was. So if the NDC agents of the NDC were not happy with what happened at Ayawaso Wuogon, and we've learned a lot from that. Got into Ablekuma North. Should we not use the experience and what we expected to have happened at Ayawaso Wuogon to apply at Ablekuma North?
Very well.
Is that not what rational humans do? You expected that the elections would have gone this way. You expected ABC. If it didn't go that way, what you expected, that is what you apply when you have the opportunity, because that is what you fight for. And for me, that is what everyone expected, that we would have learned a lot from all the elections that we've had in this country.
So the minority is unhappy and is walking out because we have not learned our lessons from the past.
We've not learned our lessons, and what happened at Yewaso, what happened at Blekuma North could have been prevented easily.
Well.
We didn't do so. The president has not shown interest. If you come out, several days after the incident, after clinching the seats that you dearly wanted through whatever means, and you come up to say that a couple of people have been arrested and whatever, the mayhem has already been committed. You've taken the seat by whatever means. So what is left?
But you said you were not in that election, but that's a matter for
what is left.
That's a matter for another day. Nelson, you have a view on, you're a finance guy,
sure.
But you have a view on this Blekuma North boycott. That is important because in the budget presentation we did not see the minority. This is the reason why they were not there. They walked out because they were unhappy with the government for the Blekuma North rerun. What's your thinking around that?
Well, thank you very much, Salom, and good morning to you and your cherished viewers and listeners. I think that for us to deepen our parliamentary democracy in Africa and in Ghana in particular, we have to try as much as possible to eschew some of these things that are not really material. If you rightly said, if you compare what happened in Blekuma North and Ayawaso West Wagon, you realize that even though the issues are related to by-elections, I don't think the walkout of the minority was actually warranted. The finance minister was coming to present a mid-year budget review, and so it would just be prudent for them to be in the chamber and to listen to whatever presentation that the finance minister will be presenting. In fact, a lot of Ghanaians were disappointed because we least expected that. Actually, nobody actually thought of it, that the minority will be walking out from the chamber. And so when it happened, we were all surprised. I think that their walkout was uncalled for. It was unwarranted, and that will not help to promote and deepen parliamentary democracy in Ghana. Their major concern has to do with the fact that the president has not passed any comment on it. Throughout his presentation, that was his bottom line.
But that's fair, isn't it?
Well, you rightly said that the agent of the president was there. The interior minister was
there. But the way things work in Ghana, the president is the alpha and omega. The president has to say something, and we've seen presidents present in the past say a few things about things not this important. So it wouldn't have been out of place for the president to also, by way of a social media post, or even he's been around speaking at various events, spend a few seconds to say he condemns that, etc., and that the people caught in it will be dealt with in accord with law, etc. That would have ended the matter.
Well, they could have also met the president or the chief of staff after the presentation of the budget.
No, but they have to. Now here we are about to discuss budget, but discussing the minority. So this is what they wanted. They wanted this prominence. They wanted this effect, and that's what they had. So if they had gone after the budget presentation, perhaps we wouldn't have been discussing it.
So the next question that we'll ask is, will they sit at the committee level to consider the revised estimate or the budget? So you see, the reason why I said the walkout was actually blown out of proportion, it was unwarranted. They should have at least been in the chamber, listen to the presentation, and later deal with whatever issue that they have with the president. But to the extent that they actually fled the chamber, and for only the majority to be in the chamber and listen to the finance minister, I think that it doesn't send a good signal to even investors outside the country. Because when any investor wants to invest in your jurisdiction, your economy, they factor this political stability stuff into their consideration. And so I think the walkout was uncalled for, unwarranted, and this may not promote parliamentary democracy in Ghana.
Very well. Well, so that's Nelson Kujo Kwagbaji. He's the head of finance at Mebank Capital. We're looking at the mid-year budget review. We're taking a closer look at the details, and as a precursor to the discussion of what that happened in Parliament, the minority walked out. So we're just addressing that and we move on. Now let's get to the subject itself. The budget, the mid-year budget review. What were the highlights of that budget review for you?
All right, thank you very much. I think that the budget that was presented was actually based on a theme, and the theme was resetting the economy for the Ghana that we want. One of the issues that was intriguing during the presentation has to do with the fact that the budget was presented as if it was a normal budget. Normally media budgets are a bit shorter, but this time around the finance minister actually took much time to actually present the media budget. Now he started the budget by in the introductory remark giving us what they actually inherited from the previous government. He gave us the status of the economy as at that time, which wasn't too pleasant, because if you look at all the macro and fiscal economic indicators at the time, you realize that the economy was really overheated. From 2022, 2023, 2024, to the extent that even in 2024 we recorded about 7.9% fiscal deficit of GDP. That was so significant. And so he gave us a breakdown of the status of the economy, and also he proceeded to give us what they have been able to achieve within the 6 months that they have been in power, and also give us some perspective going into the future. Now, one of the issues that I am mostly concerned about has to do with revenue. Selom, it will interest you to know that revenue mobilization in this country has always been a problem, to the extent that every year and then we always declare fiscal deficit at the end of the year. We've not been able to mobilize enough revenue as a country to actually finance the annual budget. And so to the extent that our debt became unsustainable in the previous years, you realize that the interest payment that we are supposed to use for this year's budget was almost about 64 billion Ghana cedis. That was so much, because if you want to raise a revenue of about 224 billion Ghana cedis, and you are using 64.5 billion Ghana cedis to pay interest, and you are committing just 32 billion Ghana cedis to your capital expenditure, that is not adequate. But on the whole, I think that the macroeconomic indicators as he presented are doing well. Inflation has moderated to 13.7% from 23.8% in December 2024. He also attributed about 7 factors that actually accounted for the stability of the Ghanaian cedi, including the fiscal consolidation measures that the government is embarking on. He also talked about a tight monetary policy, improved external sector balances, which I personally have a bit of an issue with, because you cannot be depending on commodity export to be building your reserve. The reason being that when you are relying on your commodity export to be building reserve, you don't have control over commodity export prices.
You add value.
Yes, that is the best way to go, because cocoa prices are beginning to dwindle a bit. Gold is going up. Crude, I think we started the crude was at $73 per barrel, but currently that has come down a bit. And so when you are relying on your external factor, commodity export, to build your reserve, when volatilities are inbuilt, so when the price shoots down, it means that the rate at which you build your reserve, it will shoot down. He also talked about renewed investor confidence, which is true. I've always been telling people that when you give me GDP growth rate and you give me investor confidence, as to which one do I think can propel economic growth, I will go for investor confidence, because it is the investor confidence that actually propel capital inflow. When investors don't have confidence in your economy, what it means is that they will not bring any money into your economy. And so it is, in any case, investor confidence is a leading economic indicator. Investor confidence, according to him, has also been renewed. He also talked about the credit rating upgrades, which has also culminated into the confidence level. We actually, some few months or years ago, we actually junk status, but now things are improving. Currently we are B- with stable outlook. So generally, when you look at the performance of the economy since the time they took over power, we could say that, well, the economy is actually on the right footing. My only issue has to do with how do we sustain these gains that we have made.
Just hang in there. How do we sustain these gains? I'll come back to so we delve into that. Honorable Foko, you were not in the chamber. You were busy with other matters. I mean, meeting the Jubilee House, presenting petitions and all of that. But I guess you've had the opportunity to listen to portions of it, or even read the soft copy or even the hard copy. What would be your highlights of this budget, the media budget review?
Yeah, thank you, Salom. So the budget, I mean, as was read, or budget review as was read, my first point is that I was, overly optimistic. No credence given to the previous administration that set the pace. No acknowledgement of global issues that have impacted us locally. Didn't unpack the issues for people to understand why those figures that he churned out came out the way they are and all that. So they were presented as if they are indicators that have happened or that have come about because some actions have been taken. But that is contrary, because if you look at all these macroeconomic indicators that the minister spoke about, if you unpack them, if you break them down, you would understand that really they are not as a result of real work or real structural change having been done by the current government. It's either global issues that have impacted us positively, or work that was done by the previous admin. Yes, some minor touches have been done in this admin, but if you look at them, really the results haven't shown up in this 6-7 months yet. So I believe, yes, we've seen good macroeconomic indicators. However, the minister should acknowledge and really help Ghanaians to understand how we got here, where we are. Because if I should pick a few of them, if you picked inflation, for instance, inflation has, yes, trended down, but how did we get to where we are? You look at it, food inflation, where is it? Yes, we are saying headline inflation is 14.7. 13.7.
13.7 or 8.
13.7.
13.7. But food inflation is 16.3. That's interesting. Food inflation in this country.
And food inflation has always been an issue.
But the thing is, you have to let the people understand what is behind what you are presenting. So food inflation now is 16.3.
But is it higher than we had, for example, in December 2024?
No, what I'm saying is, you see, it's about people's conditions now.
The point I'm trying to establish is, it does appear that all the indicators all the indicators are trending in the right direction. So for example, if headline inflation is trending downwards, the components of that headline inflation, we need to unpack that and understand whether they are also trending downwards. Perhaps, let's say, if food inflation was higher today than we saw in December 2024, for example, then you can make the point you're making. But if food inflation, I'm just digging up the figures though, if food inflation in December obviously was higher than we are seeing today, then it means that it's also trending downwards. You understand? So something has to be said for that.
Salam, you see, all these are interconnected. So you see, you look at the environment that we have now, and let me just complete on the inflation. Then I will. So what I'm saying is, yes, inflation has trended down, but break it down, food and non-food. Okay, food inflation as we speak now is 16.3. Is the non-food segment that has really come down about 11.7 or so for non-food. Okay, so you look at it, you ask yourself, yes, non-food inflation has done well. What has been my contribution as a government? So finance minister have come to stand there, present to the whole nation that inflation has trended down. But the contributor there is the non-food inflation that has gone down. What has been my contributor? What have I done
so sorry,
that has impacted non-food inflation?
When you are speaking, but food inflation for December 2024 was 27.8%.
Sure. I'll put that
and if we see food inflation in by mid-year or maybe June being 16, that is quite a considerable reduction, and that is positive.
Salam, that is fine. You see, all these, you ask yourself, yes, the inflation baskets, what are the items in? There are a number of them that are impacted by what we import. Okay, so I mean, generally we've seen the cedi stabilizing. So definitely imported inflation that has reduced would, I mean, help for inflation to look good. So definitely if you compare the strength of the cedi now to a year ago, it's better now. But then it leads us to the next subject, as to the strength of the cedi, which is a subject that we have debated over and over. So the cedi has strengthened, and the minister spoke about that. But you ask yourself, should we just take credit for it, or should we thank goodness that the global issues have impacted as well? Should we thank goodness that the previous administration did ABC, that the entire country is benefiting now? And I'll break it down. So take the strength of the cedi that has impacted the inflation that we were speaking about. So the strength of the cedi, Salom, if you look at it, check from April this year, you would see that the strength of major trading currencies started weakening. April this year. So that is where the cedi also started gaining grounds. Look at the trend from beginning of the year to now. So April it started gaining ground, because that is when the US started all its trade issues,
trade wars,
and it impacted on a lot of things. Okay, if you go to America, when Trump announced that he was going to put all these tariffs on, I mean, nations that exported to the US, as rational as people are, US, they started hoarding. Individuals and businesses, they started hoarding, because they didn't want these tariffs to kick in and then prices to go up. So they were hoarding. And if you start hoarding, what it means is that US will import more. So the dollar started weakening. And similarly, it happened across. So that is where it started. Yes, we talk about gold reserves, but check. I have checked. If you check, gold reserves that were built by the previous administration before leaving, and gold reserves that have been built up by this government, you see that was just about 1 metric ton. That's been built up by this government. So this government cannot pride itself that it has structurally changed something that led to the cedi's appreciation. I've said that the strength of major trading currencies on their own weakened. Gold reserves built by the previous government, you can't compare that to the 1 metric ton that has been built. The interventions that the central bank has been having in the market now, that is not sustainable. If you can't continue pumping dollars into the system, yes, temporarily, but economics will teach you something. The strength of a currency is not determined by just pumping money. It's not sustainable. Economics will tell you it's all about the balance of payment. At the end of the day, what you send out, what you take in, if you net it off, what is left, that will determine the strength of your currency. So if we want to maintain the strength of the cedi, we should do that structurally. And economics teaches us that. Yes. So it's not about pumping dollars. These are temporary measures.
Yes.
And it will not work.
Great.
And where is he getting the dollars?
Frank Ojo is online. I'll get to him in a moment. But structurally, we've always talked about our economy being a Gordonsburg one. I mean, credits to Akufo-Addo and how he put it. Gordonsburg economy, and the promise was to change the structure. We import or we export commodities, raw materials, etc. outside, blah, blah, blah. We've seen a gold board, which people have said is a structural or it's an improvement in the structure of our economy. instead of allowing the gold exports to be the way they are, now we have a system that moderates that. So small scale miners and even some of the large scale miners sell the gold to the gold board in varying percentages, sell the gold to the gold board in cedis, and the gold board now sells it to the external market for dollars, keeps the dollars, saves some at the Bank of Ghana, etc. That strengthens the cedi. That improves or boosts our reserve position. Doing this is a major plank in the economic forward march of this administration. This many have described as a masterstroke. And are you discounting the effect of the gold board? Indeed, the finance minister had cause to refer to that. He says that in paragraph 457 says the substantial foreign exchange inflows from the gold board operation in the artisanal small-scale mining sector have significantly strengthened our reserves, improved our balance of payments, and provided critical support to the Ghana cedi. So this is such an important thing we cannot discount.
Salam, thank you for bringing this up. The gold board that was set up, if you've been following it right from day one, the minority, we raised issues about it. This bill that came to Parliament, which is an act now, and that was rushed through. Why should we set up a gold board on the same structure as we have cocoa board that has been there for decades in this era? In the first place, that was flawed.
Really?
Yes.
But it's producing results.
It's producing results, but we could have done it better.
What was your suggestion?
I'm telling
as
you,
minority, how do you want it done?
No, you see, there are far better ways to have had this done. The same issues that cocoa board have struggled with. For instance, smuggling. Cocoa board have had smuggling out of our borders to go and sell because let's say Cote d'Ivoire prices better and all that. Gold board definitely is suffering the same.
No, but
the same thing.
Have we recorded anything like that yet? We've not.
No, not about sending outside country to neighboring countries and whatever. But what is the motivation even for these miners to come on their own to gold board to sell the gold to gold board? Have you tracked this? What we know is that the price difference between what they sell, the small scale miners, what they sell this gold at, and what gold board is ready to give them, there's wide variation. You can check this. And for that matter, they are not motivated to bring their gold to the gold board. So we haven't cured this problem that we had with cocoa board. We set this up just like cocoa board, and that was a big mistake. Okay, so we could have done better after decades of having cocoa board. But that said, the impact of gold board is being overblown. The impact of gold board has been overblown. When was gold board set up? The bill itself, when did it come to Parliament?
The first quarter.
Yeah, end of first quarter. So it's been around for how many months? 3 months, about. So 3 months setting up this new institution to set up your own. It's being set up as a real corporate organization.
You see,
so what have they achieved? You mean 3 months they've done so much? They should show it. We've been talking about it, but they should show us in terms of figures. They've been set up for just about 3 months. So we are overblowing their achievement.
Very well. Just hang in there. Let me bring in Franklin Kujo. Franklin, good to see you. Welcome to the program. How have you been? Hello, Franklin. Yes, I think you should unmute. Yes, unmute and let's hear you.
Hello.
Yes, we can hear you now. Hello, Franklin.
Yes, my brother, did you call me?
Yes, I'm saying I know there's a delay. It appears there's quite some delay.
Say that again.
I'm saying that there's quite some delay in the call.
There's what?
Delay.
Yeah, there's a delay. Yeah, but that's fine.
Yes.
Should I use I don't know.
Yeah. So let's. So I wanted to take your general thoughts about the budget and what you make of the finance minister's optimism going forward.
That's fine. So when we come back, I go ahead, right?
No, go ahead now. Go ahead now. The question is to you.
Sorry, you want me to go ahead now?
Yes, please.
Yes. Oh, sorry. I'm sorry. I didn't realize. So good morning, everyone. Good morning, Salam. Good morning to your producers as well. Well, what can I say? I mean, I listened to the budget statement with a lot of what should I call it? I mean, I was pleasantly not surprised, but quite happy. For the simple reason that the whole definition of what you can give to the presentation Ato made is one of discipline, and I think the word discipline people do not understand. It actually could be a policy. If your policy is to spend recklessly, you should also know that someone else's policy will be disciplined and spending within budget. In fact, after forcing, I mean, he mostly characterizes the NPP spending as someone who lives a champagne lifestyle on a pedestrian budget, which is clearly the situation we had faced in the last 8 years as well. But I think coming to Ato's presentation, you see clearly that there's every muscle in his body is being put to use to ensure that steady hands actually play in terms of managing the finances of the country. And truth be told, I was one of those who initially almost bought the Kool-Aid that the government was not spending. Well, until I saw the figures that they put out, it was quite clear that there's been some level of expenditure. But this expenditure is sensible expenditure, targeted expenditure that is bringing in the return on this investment will be the expenditure will be quite sensible. So it is not those type of expenditure where you borrow exceedingly from the domestic market and external market. Remember the last administration, anytime they put out, they wanted to buy treasury bills, people oversubscribed and they bought everything. I mean, how much of the time they claim that shows confidence in the economy. It was not. And that's one thing I thought is actually thought then. There's not every money you go asking for that you take. What has it done? You realize that the interest rate of treasury bills have dropped significantly. I mean, now people will be forced to think hard about how to organize the economy and invest in other productive areas. I mean, it has a cascading effect as well. I mean, the private sector must be looking to the Bank of Ghana to see whether the way things are going, you need to reduce the prime rate, so that others can also, the commercial space can also breathe. Well, let me leave that for now. But I think going forward, I make the point that Ato was quite categorical that look, I am not going to be that person who just give a blanket check to contractors, give all sort of contract to people. Now you don't even know the number of roads that are on construction. Look, you know where I live, right? I mean, I use this of call someone road. It's an aberration. And to think that the government of the day, the last government, actually got money for that and uses for other purposes, that's just being wicked. I don't think this is right. Anyway, the point I'm making is that Ato says we are no longer going to just flash contracts, give contracts to people anyhow. We'll make sure that we have the money. And we actually vet this contract before we actually go ahead. I mean, the vet project. He's spending, the Minister of Roads and a few of us are spending a lot of months going around every country, every part of the country to determine the types of the roads that infrastructure we need, and then the cost. Unlike the previous regime, they just dish out the contracts. Whether you just need to show a battery card, and then they just dish it out to you. And I think those things were wanton, destructive, and which partly was responsible for our atrophy. Look, Ato goes ahead to say that, look, I'm actually thinking that I'll be getting resources from the gold sector, from wherever, but I like to create a sinking fund, right? A sinking fund that would eventually help us repay some of our debts. Isn't that wonderful? I mean, it looks as if when the NDC creates, someone else has come. Some people come to just dissipate. You remember the NDC created a sinking fund earlier, created all these funds to support the energy sector. What happened? Our cousins and my cousins, I should call them, in the central right thinking, but you know they are not central right? Yeah, mostly very. The last administration was very aggressive. They decided that they were not going to have anything to do with anything that was called savings, and they just pillaged the whole thing and brought everything down. Look, this is a new era. If Ato can continue the way he's continuing, well, his nickname will no longer be Ato, it's forcing. Ato was the one who actually forced and actually liberated the Ghanaian economy. And I always said that. I think I'd like to make a point. I want to ensure that call on the government and the big people in the party who think that Ato may be doing too much and that is trying to tighten things too much. Well, hello, I think there's a new era. You better fall in line. Those who are backing at me, not being happy, well, just be productive and then you get your due. I mean, that's the advice I want to give. But otherwise, what I heard was sensible. And what I heard, he didn't ask for a CD, and it's befuddling a lot of people who thought that you can only wear white and then praise God and cite Bible quotations in the presentations of budget. I think that in itself is a cure to one's property of the mind, which obviously is responsible for the mess that we experienced the last time. I think clearly that Ato is on the good path. We need to support him. We need to ensure that contracts, and I like the fact that the contracts, it will be a difficult thing to keep all these contracts, but this is important. Sorry?
No, go ahead.
Okay. All right. So it is important to say that even though gatekeeping the contract is important, the guy says, look, don't come in fact, anybody who procures the contract, and the person the contract is found out to be wanting, will be prosecuted. And that is a clear sign of an improved public financial management system. It is the responsibility of the person who approves. He also wants to say that ghost names, and by the way, I thought we had defeated ghost names. What was all this digitalization noise for? Jesus. I mean, I thought, frankly, I didn't think about a ghost. I thought about humans who could actually do engineering and all kinds of things, but re-engineering, sorry. But I never thought there would be ghosts. But anyway, as the computer process, you can digitalize. But if you don't digitalize the mindset, nothing will happen. And maybe that's what has happened. But to think that there are so many people still on the payroll who do not need to be on the payroll, it's something we need to check. And I'm happy to hear that something good will be done. So this will be my general thoughts about those. Whatever, but I think clearly speaking, when Dr. Mahmoud, my good friend, asked the government, they should know one single policy which they have actually instituted for which the stability of the economy is to be experienced. And I think my gentleman in the studio on the NPP seems to be suggesting something like that. It is the policies of the years that is so far. Well, let me be very frank. I think there's some modicum of truth in that. But the larger truth is that, and that's what Dr. replied, Dr. Bamia 2 days ago when he said, look, the only one discipline, so the only one good policy is that we've been disciplined. We're not reckless, borrowing anyhow, spending anyhow, give contract and run corrupt schemes. And I think that was a perfect answer. So the policy going forward should be disciplined financially, disciplined in the way we spend, and discipline the way we get our outcomes. Thank you.
Yes. So Honorable Foko here thinks that Ato was overly optimistic, and he also failed to give credit to the previous administration where credit was due, and he didn't even account for the global issues, etc. What are your thoughts around these issues raised?
So could you take that again? I don't know why this keeps happening. Did you say something about global outlook?
Yes. I was just trying to get you to proffer a view on Honorable Fokio's submission. He said that Atto was overly optimistic. One. Number two, that he failed to give credit to the previous government because a lot of the things we are seeing now began in their regime. For example, inflation started trending downwards and it's continuing its downward trend. So some credit should have been given. Number three, there were global issues, but Atto failed to account for the global issues, etc. Just your thoughts on these areas.
All right. Okay. Well, I think I heard you. Atto being overly optimistic, and it's not giving credit to the previous government. Well, the challenge really is that nobody say. I don't think Atto did not give credit to the previous government. I think he was trying to say that they cannot be claiming that everything that has happened is due to their investment. Well, what did they really invest? I mean, after basically destroying the economy and then postponing debt repayment, which is due in 2026 next year and then the next after the next year, you really want to be praised for? Is really something significant like what? What exactly do you want to be praised for? For taking us to the IMF in an ambulance? For giving us haircuts, not even haircuts? For pensioners who were basically lost, some even had to die? What exactly are they talking about? I mean, I think, Mr. Foko, I don't think you should be saying such things to people who have been who were hurt as a result of the mauling of the economy by those very irresponsible pair of hands. I think it is important to make the point that look, what Atto is suggesting is that look, yeah, global issues could happen, but global issues happen all the time. I thought that the NPP also experience of global issues, even though they claim that they are the only ones on earth. Ghana was the only country on earth that got impacted, but then had a debt restructuring, and then also gave haircut to people. And I think these things are disingenuous. You should stop referencing them. You should please stop referencing them. But yes, global issues happen, and people. You see, if you manage well, you manage well. Recently, you recall that what's it called? The Iran Israeli war thing. All of a sudden, prices of food started going up, right? But then what happened? You recall that at that time, the NDC had wanted to introduce just one cedi digital levy. But what did they do? Instead of introducing it at the time, they said, well, because of the it's not Russia, it's the Israeli-Iranian conflict, they are holding back. I would have thought that every people that would just gone ahead and implement that, they would have already doubled their money. So please, Mr. Foko, I understand what you're saying, but we have not forgotten. So please, no attributions will be made for any of those claims that you made. None. If there's anything to be, maybe the gold thing was a good idea, but in actual fact, as you realize, the current management of that gold thing seems to be a bit more transparent than the gold for oil obviously was. Thank you.
All right. Thanks, Franklin Kujo. We'll get back to you again. We'll take a short break. When we return, we'll hear Nelson's view on some of the issue. We'll delve into the debate or the comment about spending. We'll also deal with the matter of contracts in Citi and what that will mean. Targets, if the economy is doing so, why don't you revise the targets upwards? Why do you keep the target low? Is it that you want to keep it low so that you will break it and say you've done very well? I mean, we'll look at all of that when we return after this break. This is The Big Issue on 97.3 Citi FM. Don't go away.
Stay in power forever. What is the everything I must change? Everything I must change. Everything I must change. Everything I must change. Everything I must change. What is it that makes a person wanna stay in power forever? What is it that makes a person wanna stay in power forever? the everything I must change? Everything I must change. Everything I must change. Everything I must change. What is it that makes a person wanna stay in power forever? What is it that makes a person wanna stay in power forever? What is the everything I must change? Everything I must change. Everything I must change. What is it that makes a person wanna stay in power forever? What is it that makes a person wanna stay in power forever? What is the everything I must change? Everything I must change. Everything I must change. What is it that makes a person wanna stay in power forever? What is it that makes a person wanna stay in power forever? What is the everything I must change? Everything I must change. Everything I must change. Everything I must change. What is it that makes a person wanna stay in power forever? What is it that makes a person wanna stay in power forever? What is the everything I must change? Everything I must change. Everything I must change. Everything I must change. What is it that makes a person wanna stay in power forever? What is it that makes a person wanna stay in power forever? What is the everything I must change? Everything I must change. Everything I must change. Everything I must change. What is it that makes a person wanna stay in power forever? What is it that makes a person wanna stay in power forever? What is the reason for a man to wanna force his will upon our lives?
Yeah, welcome back. This is the Big Issue on 97.3 City FM. I'm Salom Adonu. We're looking at the budget, the media budget review delivered by the Finance Minister, Dr. Atuforsen, looking at taking a closer look at that budget. My guest this morning, the Honorable Chunibu Akudia Foko, Member of Parliament for Mansum Kwata on the ticket of the MPP, Nelson Kujo Kwagbeji, Head of Finance, Melbourne Capital, Franklin Kujo, President Imani Africa, and of course we're expecting to be joined by Isa Atta, Honorable Member of Parliament for Sagnarugu. So before the break, Franklin Kujo was making a point responding to issues Honorable Foko had raised about Atu being overly optimistic, giving no credit to the past regime, not accounting for the global issues, and not even unpacking the issues well. Let's Nelson, I'm of the view that every new government economically bags some good things. Of course, in 2017, the first part of 2017, things were quite good. Of course, there are people who think that the first term of the Nana-Addo administration was stellar and that things were good. It was the global issues in 2020 and beyond that exacerbated a situation and brought us to a head in 2022 where inflation soared to 54% and all of that, the domestic debt exchange program, all of those things kicked in, which became very sore points for us. Now, in the budget, for example, the minister says that, Mr. Speaker, the signs of economic progress are visible and measurable. First quarter economic growth is at a five-year high, which means that was in the first term of Nana-Addo. Our debt to GDP ratio is at a 5-year low, which is good. First term. Inflation has declined to a 4-year low. First term. Our credit rating has improved from junk to B with stable outlook, a 2-notch upgrade, and a 4-year high. First term. We have almost reversed all the Citi depreciation in the years 2022, 2023, 2024, which means that first term was better, even though first term was pre-2022. So first term was better. This level of appreciation of the Citi has never happened in the history of the nation. Okay, prices of petrol and diesel at the pump have reduced significantly to the benefit of Ghanaians. Prices of sugar, rice, and cooking oil at a 4-year low. Also first term. So all these things we are seeing, many have said, are symptoms of any new administration. As we've just seen, the reference to the years suggests that these are first-term achievements, which were good. So are we not in a hurry to be happy? Because other things could kick in that may reverse these. These are things that every new administration sees. Do you disagree?
Well,
I think I don't share in the same opinion. This is because we are looking at the analysis in time, where we were and where we are currently. The previous government made mention of the fact that they have laid a solid foundation for this government to actually take off, but I don't share in that assertion. This is because we've all seen the figures and the numbers and the indicators as at the end of the year. And so if a new government comes and they are trying to put in place fiscal consolidation measures that are actually working, you don't take credit for it. They actually said that, on the international gross reserve front, they did about $8 billion, which represented about 4 months of import cover. And they have only added 0.8 month of import cover. In fact, the finance minister made mention of the fact that the operations of the gold board actually added about $2.1 billion net effect to the gross international reserve. You see, when we are taking credit for policies that are yielding results, then it means that we must also be taking liability or taking the blame for policies that are also not working. As I did indicate, this government came to power to embark on, it's like they have learned from their previous mistakes. And you realize that they are actually not in a hurry. In fact, I was some of the people who were saying, this government was not spending. Because once you are not spending, you are not provoking any economic activity. Once you started paying contractor will go and buy water. Contractor will go and buy iron rod. Contractor will go and buy cement. In that case, you are trying to provoke economic activity. But to the extent that they were auditing the payables, I was presuming that the government was not spending. Not knowing the government was spending, but they were spending prudently. Now, I can give you all the indicators and what actually contributed to the downward trend. For instance, inflation. We had inflation at 23.7%. Now inflation is at 13.7%. What could have contributed to the downward trend in disinflationary pressure? Number one, it was as a result of the prudence in management of the expenditure of this country that actually contributed to, the disinflationary pressure. Then again, you realize that since the Bank of Ghana came, they maintained the policy rate at 28%. In fact, currently, the policy rate regime in Ghana is actually very tight. And so, the Bank of Ghana used the policy rate to, as it were, drain excess liquidity from the system. Again, what did the government do to tame down inflation? You realize that the government was not borrowing. You realize that at the T-bill market, the rate of T-bill actually came down from 27% to currently about 14%. And just as Mr. Franklin Kujo said, the government wasn't having such incessant and uncontrolled appetite for borrowing. So these factors actually contributed to the downward trend of the inflation. Then again, if you take another indicator, that is the gross international reserve, it has not been depleted. The gross international reserve actually increased as a result of the operations of the gold board. And so that is also another reason why. In fact, if you look at the external sector, cocoa was doing well, gold was doing well, remittance, in fact, the total remittances that we received was well over $700 million. And so clearly that also contributed to the increment in the international gross reserve that actually gave her the 4.8 month of import cover. He also mentioned of the fact that the debt stock has also reduced from 726 billion Ghana cedis to about 613 billion Ghana cedis. What actually accounted for the reduction in the debt? One, if you anytime you have so much debt denominated in foreign currency, when your CD depreciates, what happens is that component also increases in CD terms. You get it. And so once you're able to reduce the exchange rate from 14.7% in December to 10.3% in June, technically the external component of your debt will reduce, and that will also reflect in your total debt stock. Secondly, domestically, the government was not borrowing from the treasury bill market. In fact, they were using the market as a cash management market, liquidity management market, and so they take only what they need. Those days, everything that came, they've been accepting it. And in fact, the finance minister made mention of the fact that the rate will go down further, because now inflation is at 13.7%, so we expect the rate to go down further. That is on the front of this. Then again, in terms of our revenue, we have always witnessed budget overruns in this country, because whatever we budgeted for, we always overspent. In fact, I can give you some historical figures of the budget overrun that we had in the past from 2020 to date. So you realize that the current gains that we have made in the economy is really not as a result of, let me say, lack on the part of the new government, as a result of policies and programs that were implemented in 2024, but as a result of prudent fiscal measures, prudent economic management. Government not having appetite for borrowing, they actually contributed towards the gains that we have made. If you look at the expenditure front, government has made so much gains as far as the expenditure management is concerned. Have you realized that recently there was a communique that government will not buy fuel for political office holders? There will not be DSTV subscription for political office holders. There will not be first class trip for political office holders. And so you realize that even at the presidency, I was told that the political appointees at the presidency are not more than 200 appointees. But in the past we had over 600. Even ministers were well over 124. And so if somebody said that, the gains that we are making is as a result of a spillover effect from the previous government in 2024 to 2020, I don't think the fact on the ground actually support that.
But of course, I appreciate the 124 minister bit, but that was in the first term, and the first term things were not as rough as things got in the second term. That must be placed on record as well. All right. So yes. Honorable Isa. Atta Isa is joining us, but let me take a few of your messages, then we make progress. Good morning, Salon. For once, we have listened to a budget devoid of the usual jargon, which previously we used to swindle Ghanaians. You say very basic to understand of the ordinary Ghanaian. All the economic indicators look very positive due to the prudent management of the economy. As for the mini, micro, minority, even their presence is of no use, you say. That's Jones Adoboy in La. This one says, Salam, if MPP wants to take credit for the positives of this government, then they might as well be willing to accept the negatives that goes with it. You didn't add your name to that. This one says, it's a simple question. Did you condemn it or not? I mean, what happened in Ayawase West Wogan? Okay, that's in reference to earlier comments by Honorable Foko. You people should stop the mind games. It all started with you people. Why is it that the MPP behaves as if they are owners of Mother Ghana and we the other people are renting it from them? Walking out of Parliament whilst the budget is being read is hypocritical. We, the people of Ghana, don't belong to any political parties. We have our judgment in our heads according to performance, you say. Togbi Dobu says, please ask him to tell us what was done about the event at Kaswa, which involved the same person under his government, in reference to Honorable Foko. Okay, he said, please correct him. The last election was with minimal violence in the past. You say, the Salon president wants the country. President was not in the country, and the person who was acting spoke to condemn it. All right. This one from Maxwell says, good morning, Salom and co. I don't understand why MPP is still having problem with the Ablikuma issue. The issue was not about election, but rather about how Akumsin. If you advise a cat and didn't talk to the rotten fish, okay, I'm not so sure about the last part of it. That's Maxwell from Adenta. This one from Nene Azu says, Salom, I find the argument by the MPP rep on your show very unpatriotic and failing to address the issues. He is just cosmetic on the issues. Represented the president are working on the issues on his orders ostensibly. But above all, I can understand the difficulty. Okay, that's Nene Azu. This one from Sani from East Legon says, good morning, sir. The MP shouldn't forget that similar thing happened in the Eyawase West Wogan by election. In fact, even the worse than this, why didn't they boycott the swearing in of Lydia Sarah Mahassan? And Nanado kept quiet. Why didn't they ask Nanado to speak out? And I think the message is clear. The big issue, 97.3 Citi FM. Honorable Folk, I'll come to you in a minute, but let me just take Honorable Issa's preliminary comments. Not preliminary, because we are deep into the discussion. The concern or the accusation is that your government your government is taking credit for the work of the past, and that you are taking credit without giving. You are taking all the good things without giving credit. You are not accounting for external factors. So, for example, gold prices are up, cocoa prices are up, oil prices are up. All of these have a way of impacting the economy. You've not really been a victim of any serious external shock, apart from the few days Iraq, Iran, Israeli, conflict, which was quickly, but the most difficult part of them we've seen. Now we've settled in them generally. So that is the accusation, and that you are being overly optimistic. And my point also is that it does appear that every new government enjoys these. So why are we so much? Are we not in a hurry to take credit or to be celebrating something which is usual of every government, even though Nelson disagrees?
Okay, so let me say good morning to our listeners and to my colleagues in studio, and to apologize for attending to this important program late. Apologies. I think that I don't expect everybody to view the outturns that came out for the first two quarters from the same lens. So ordinarily, you don't expect to have a 100% approval rating, but I can tell you that on the streets of Accra and the rest of the country,
and the streets of
Sanargo, I can tell you that Ghanaians,
and also the streets of Masunkwata.
Yes, I can tell you that Ghanaians has given this government higher approval ratings. So, in fact, this is just an outcome of series of activities. If you look at the 2025 budget that was presented in March, it was preceded by a National Economic Forum, stakeholder engagement, and even visitations to markets across the country to take first hand the critical challenges that confronts us as a nation. And the priority of Ghanaians as at that time was for government to deal with the cost of living crisis. So that was the prime focus in the short term. So all the policies that we implemented was in response to making sure that we reduce the cost burdens on the average Ghanaian, shift away the tax burdens on them, and also create an ease of doing business for the private sector to grow. That was the prime focus. So if you look at our March budget, all was tailored to achieving these economic objectives. Now, Section 28 of the Public Financial Management Act stipulates what constitutes a mid-year budget. A mid-year budget is not supposed to give praise singing to the economy that you inherited. That's not the objective of that. It is different from a state of a nation or even a full budget statement presentation. This one is just an accountability tool to tell us where you picked this, what policies you took to address that problem, and what is the way forward. That's just the basis of Section 28. So I am sometimes surprised when people say, why didn't government give credit? That's not the objective of a mid-year budget under Section 28. Number two, yes, I am not sure on various other political platforms and even national platforms, we haven't rubbished past successes. We haven't. If you remember, the finance minister in March and even President Mahama at the State of the Nation acknowledged some of the gains that we were making in terms of the Citi performance attributable to the domestic debt exchange program. We have always consistently done that. Though it was an IMF conditionality to reduce the debt stock. But which government took that decision? However painful it was to pensioners and other low-income earners on their savings, but it contributed immensely to the appreciation that we are seeing. So to that end, we part MPP for that. But those who know regression very well, look, every policy you take has an out-end period. Let me ask you a question. 2024, the verdict is out there as at the end of December 2024. Is that not it? So whatever policies that you had taken, the policy outturns should reflect in the 2025 budget statement. That will present the real outturn figures for 2024. So if you want to know what we should credit the MPP for, was end year 2024 macroeconomic indicators and even welfare indicators. If you now want to isolate the spillover effect as some of the policies that has occasioned some of these gains that we are doing, that is your call to do. And that's not the job of an NDC government. So to say that we should have credited the MPP for the gains that we are getting, I think is far-fetched. Number two, we are also not discounting the whole concept of external factors that contribute to some of these things. If you remember, in the budget, we attributed to the fact that global uncertainty in terms of the geopolitical tension that is happening in Israel and Gaza, right, might have an effect on us. So, and that even influenced the benchmark price we give for oil. So at every stage in your economy, you need to do an assessment of global economic factors and uncertainty factors, its impact on your fiscals. So government has acknowledged that the external sector contributed a lot also to the gains that we are seeing. For example, the global cocoa and gold price surges. What is the role of government in influencing the price of gold? Do you get the point? So when we are rather padding ourselves to saying that the exchange rate performance that we are seeing in terms of forex reserves is the number or the volumes of tons of gold that has been accumulated by the first 2 quarters of the year. Same time last year, in fact, the total gold export volume of small scale miners for the entire year in 2024 was only 26.4 billion tons.
24
point something tons. Yeah. Right now, we are doing what? 51. Just in 2 quarters. And the export volumes for the entire year last year for small scale miners was 1.8 billion. Now we are doing 5 billion for half year. Primarily is because, one, government took a decision to remove the withholding tax of 1.5% on unlicensed processed gold for small scale miners. We have also made the licensing regime for our mining industry more Ghanaian. Ghana only enjoyed, prior to the coming of the gold board, Ghana only enjoyed a total participatory interest rate of 13% in most of the gold licenses that we always do, and royalties of 5% to 8%. Right now, gold board mandate is also to do community licensing for small scale miners, where the intention is that the functional currency of this country is the Ghana Citi. Every gold transaction that must happen in this country must be done in our functional currency. One, so it reduces the burden that we normally place on request for dollar or demand for dollar. Number two, trade with the external partners. Even when you are external or a big mining company, you cannot export gold without the tacit approval of the gold board. That brings some level of certainty. It brings some level of, it reduces smuggling, and so that you can deal with these issues of illegal trade.
The concern is that the gold board became very operational sometime March, April.
Yes.
And we are in June. The budget was essentially June.
Yes.
Is that 1-2 months?
No, but
enough
you see
to occasion the improvement we are seeing?
You see, that's what people don't understand also. There was still the PMMC.
Yeah.
This is just a transition and broader mandate.
But the PMMC's mandate was not changed, it was the same.
That's what I'm saying, that what we should rather be focused more in is, prior to the coming of the gold board, what did we achieve under the leadership of Sami Gyamfi? You can't discount that was being done. So I just get cringe when people just begin to water down some of these gains that we are getting. And then I heard people speak about government is not spending, that's why the numbers appear.
We'll get to the spending.
We'll get to the spending
after this round, yes.
So what I will say primarily is that, in fact, we have performed more than expected. Based on the targets that we have set for ourselves. So me, sometimes I look at the target I set for myself. So I don't like it when people compare full year to 2 quarters, or when people compare the last quarter of 2024 to the first 2 quarters of the. That's not proper comparison. So I am looking at it from the fact that we do performance budget performance analysis. You do it vis-a-vis what was the target you set for yourself, and what is the point of in terms of achieving it. And in fact, let me just take you through. I know my brothers have taken you through. Let's take even the growth. Same time last year, we grew by about 4.something%. In fact, currently, we are doing first 2 quarters at 5.3%. And that is not even where my interest is. My interest is the drivers of the growth. Last year, I was in this studio again, and I said that the concern of growing above 4%, when we read the budget, you remember, the MPP were saying that they had an end-year growth of about 4, and we were doing a projected growth of at 4. I don't know if you remember that.
Yeah, I recall.
Yeah, and I said that it was not about the growth, it's the source of growth or the drivers of the growth. Right now, do you know the drivers of this growth? It is largely on agriculture, industry, not led by the service sector. So that tells you that there's much economic activity currently ongoing, and I'm not surprised, and I'll demonstrate it to you when I come to the financial sector performance, because the net capital inflow, that is, if you take capital outflow from Ghana and what came to Ghana, the net for the first 6 months is $792 million. It tells you that there's a reposed confidence once again in the Ghanaian economy. These are the measurable things that we must use to know when an economy is doing well or not. Non-oil growth. Look, nominal GDP doesn't really tell the full story. I look mostly at the non-oil growth, because what is our benefit in the oil? So if you look at the non-oil growth, you see that we are doing about 6.8%, higher since 2018. That is what you use to measure mark of sustained and good leadership. Then it is not only the numbers. Look at inflation. The finance minister in March 2025 targeted an inflation at end year 11.9%. Currently, do you know the inflation rate? 13.7. Just half year. And we are expected to do the 11.9. But I will be surprised if we don't do less than 10%. Because why? Food inflation has decreased to 16% from 20-something% to 16%. Producer price index has dropped from 2 to 4% to 5.9%. And that is why it reflects in the day-to-day activities of every Ghanaian. And that's why I said the approval ratings is high. Go to the street of Accra and ask people whether they will give testimonies as to a drastic price reduction in many goods. As trade committee, we met GUTA, AGI, Importers and Exporters Association, and many other partners in the harbour. And the idea was that why is the city performance not reflected in the price of goods and services? And you know the findings we got as a committee. 4,500 products in Ghana have currently benefited from price reductions, according to AGI.
I see. Let me bring.
Okay.
You've been on for a while. Let me bring in Honorable Foucault. Honorable Foucault, indeed, the minister alluded to the fact that the trickle down effect of what he calls the good economic management is being felt by the streets. I mean, to put it that way. So the price of cocoa is gone down. Maize, all of that is gone down. And once those things happen, it means the streets will be happy, and the street, that's where the votes are, that's where the people are, and things are fine. Do you experience the same thing? Do you feel the same thing? Can you testify that indeed price of goods or prices of goods have gone down as the minister claims?
Yeah, thank you, Salom. Before I come to that, let me just make just a couple of points following the submission that was done by Franklin Kujo. He spoke about this Ofanko and Sawem Road, which the finance minister made a statement on. The, I mean, a loan was contracted and was supposed to be used for the roads, was used for other things. That is not the case. We could fact check.
That's not true?
Yeah, it's not. It's not. The former roads minister has come out to clarify that loan that was taken, the roads that were supposed to be constructed, which we have seen works on, includes the Spintex flower pot overhead. That beautiful overhead that has been done was part of one of the roads that was constructed with that loan. We have other ones that were constructed. The
Ofanko and Sawam Road was not part of that.
It was part, but what I'm saying, there were other important roads.
Okay.
So that flower pot overhead that we all know, that beautiful one, was part of it. It's been done. It's in use now. We know of the Osino bypass is part of it. We know of the Boteman dualization. That is a beautiful road, those who know about it. So that was not the fact. The former minister for roads and highways has come out. He spoke about, he said ghost names, and he was, making a big case out of that. Yes, we are in this country, we've known of officials that have taken double pay before, double salaries, not long ago. Ghanaians should remember. So we have to look at all these. Let's not forget, he spoke about discipline. And he says discipline, people are saying not finance minister not spending. Yes, it is true. The list that finance minister gave, these are spendings that you don't have a choice. If you are paying to get fund and you are paying to all these statutory payments, those are, they are a given. You have to pay. These are statutory payments. We're talking about, it's discretionary.
We'll get to that.
No, I want to just respond to just a few of these, frankly, kudos points that he made. The rating that was given as well, he spoke about it. The rating was premised, it was contextualized on certain things happening, and we have to take note of that. Of agric, they said agric should be growing, strongly, especially cocoa production. If that doesn't happen, then what do we make out of the rating that was given? And we know that agric, and they mentioned cocoa specifically. If you read the release that came from Fitch, they mentioned cocoa. That agric should be growing. If you look at agric and cocoa now, for the light crop season, the CEO of Cocoa Board, he has come out to say that they are anticipating the forecast that cocoa production will be shot by 10,000 metric tons. So there are issues all around this, and we need to be clear. He says submission, I get it, but also I have, a few concerns, on the submission, the strength of the city I spoke about earlier on. The issue of commodities. Yes, commodities have supported the strength of the city. That is fine, but as he rightly said, the government has no control over that. These are prices in the international market. If the minister had told us that since we came in, we brought this in and structurally we've improved the volumes of, let's say, cocoa, then we'll say, yeah, that's good. But if it's just about price in the international market, please don't take this credit. It has happened. Let the people know. Now, the issue about pricing in the market, how Ghanaians are feeling. If you walked around now, if you could do your random sampling across the streets of Ghana, and you would see that the reduction in prices as expected is actually not the case. And it is not just a saying, it's actually not the case. And marketers, sellers have assigned various reasons to say why prices haven't come down. But it is what it is. The reality on the ground is that prices haven't come down. And like I said, the
prices haven't come down the way we expect them to come down. They've not come down at all.
They've not come down. If something is just marginal, then it's probably the same, So what I'm saying is,
who do you blame for that? Don't we blame the Ghanaian businessman, the Ghanaian trader, wickedness? If you always attribute it to the rising or the weakness of the city, the interest, the exchange rate volatilities, etc. And for the past few months, we've seen some relative stability and, in fact, appreciation of the cedi. Is it not just fair to the people we serve as traders that the prices will reduce? They told us that they have stock, and so we should give them 60 days. 60 days is almost our expiring, maybe in August, some of them said. Is it only fair to the people that you reduce it? How does the government come in a free market economy?
You see, yeah. Thank you, Solomon. I like where you landed, free market economy. So where market forces determine price, you just stay on the lines and watch what is happening. So what is happening is what we are seeing. That is a reality. You see, let's not forget that it's not just about one parameter that determines everything. It's the economy in its totality. Okay, these are business people who go out there to contract facilities, contract loans, contract money from finance houses to do their business in most of the cases. You ask yourself, yes, inflation has gone down, so I expect prices of goods and services to go down. Where do they borrow from? Ask yourself, what is the interest rate in the market now? Interest rates are 30% and above. So if
they're lower than that,
it's not the case.
25 to 28%.
No, we're talking about effective interest rate.
Yes.
You check. Do you are checking?
It's not the case.
Now, even if it's 25, you are saying 25 to 28. Yes, so be it 25 to 28. But look at that compared to where inflation is, or inflation we are saying is. So it tells you they are borrowing at really higher rates. And if they are borrowing at this higher rates, and they have to have, margins to get some profit to their businesses, then you ask yourself, if they take into consideration the cost of borrowing, where would that lead them to? What would they be left with? So it's a number of issues that come to play. It's not just about inflation is at 14.7 or whatever, so straight away price of goods and services should come down drastically. No, there's cost to business, and they have to look at that as well. So that's what I'm saying. Where you landed is free market.
So your view is that it should be a matter of time, given if the conditions we have now continue for a while, then as a matter of course prices should reduce. Yeah, indeed, the traders have said by August they would have depleted or finished their stock, and they would have gone for new stock on the strength of the CD now, and so things will then naturally reduce. So we are waiting seriously for August to see how the market will play. So is this a matter of course? Is that the point I'm making?
You see, you can't put a timeline to this. I'm saying these are determined by market forces. Because if you said, by August they say they're going to,
but that's what they said.
They say they're going to. It's an anticipation
that the conditions remain the same.
It's an anticipation that let's say they will clear their old stock and restock and all that. But what I'm saying is there's a cost element to this that has not much to do with inflation. Inflation has reduced. Yes,
it's not just inflation. There's exchange rate, which is a major factor.
The exchange rate also, has an effect on inflation because we import a lot and all that. So it's all together. But what I'm saying is, these people borrow. I'm just giving you just one example. They borrow, and it costs them. And the financial institutions are also realistic in their pricing. So if really what is happening on the inflation side is realistic, and I'm saying this without any prejudice, if it's realistic indeed, then you would expect that across board you will see rates coming down. You will see banks pricing low. You will see prices going down, and these are determined by the market. So we shouldn't, and I hear this quite often when people seem to be blaming sellers, marketers, that your prices are high. You think people don't want to sell more and make returns? They want to do that, but the reality is that they have costs to also deal with, and they are rational. So it is what it is. It's the market and what the market dictates. So we have to look at these in generality and not just pick one item that inflation is at this, so marketers reduce your prices. No, we have MPC rate that is still at 28. That is very high. Why is it that the central bank is forcing so much? It must happen. So I'm scooping everything from the market by whatever means. 28 versus inflation that is below 14%, right? So if you look at it, I think on a whole, we are not there yet, and we should be slow and measured in our expectations, and we should also be slow in patting ourselves in the back. Like I said initially, what we are seeing, we should be able to tell Ghanaians, don't just give us the figures, tell us that yes, and Issa said, made mention of it, that okay, the finance minister has been prudent in spending and all that. Yes, tell us you've been prudent, but why is it so? You've been prudent. Is it that you are not paying the bills that you are supposed to pay, or why is it so? You've been prudent. What is it that you have controlled? What is it specifically? Tell us. Because if you are paying all the government bills as he enumerated during the media review, and I said that the bills that he's paid, these are more like statutory in nature. He should have told us that road contractors, I have paid this chunk to them, and we could verify that these payments have gone to road contractors, because the economy is, obviously interlinked. You pay road contractors, they also pay their subcontractors, and it goes round and round and round. But if you are paying NHIS, if you are paying Get Fund, these are statutory payments you have to make anyway.
Very well.
The discretionary ones, have you done anything about that? So if your fiscal deficit is below or better than your target, you can decide not to spend, you can decide not to be bold, and you keep what you have. But that will not transform the economy in any way.
Very well. Professor William Brefon Sedu is on. He's head of data science and economic policy at the University of Cape Coast. Sir, good morning. Welcome to the program. How much of the positives in this first 6 months or 7 months of the administration, as captured by the finance minister, will you attribute to external factors, and how much of it would you attribute to the prudence of the managers of the economy?
Thank you for the question. I think for the past 6 months, I would say they are on track. They've done quite well in terms of working towards achieving the target. Inflation has gone down, exchange rate has gone down. What I was expecting to hear on the side of
Yes, are you there? Yes, go ahead.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, I think we lost you briefly.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you now.
Yes, we can hear you now. Yeah, so I'm saying that so far so good, but one thing that was missing, I was expecting to hear them talk about composition of public expenditure, because if we say we've reduced the budget deficits over the past 6 months, at what cost? At what cost? Yes, we've cut down on expenditure, but at what cost? Where is the expenditure going to? Is it going to the productive sectors or not? We didn't hear anything about that. I think it's important. Then also about the fact that they intend to spend substantially in the roads project infrastructure, which is also good, because mind you, I would expect that they would have, I'm not too sure about that, whether they've done what we normally call the SWOT analysis to determine the ability to achieve the set targets in the area of infrastructure. Of course, they were mentioning some priority areas where they think they'll be able to achieve the targets within the next 2 to 3 years. That is fine. They talked about the 24-hour economy policy, but I think that of course, they mentioned agriculture and industrialization as priority areas, but we think that they still have to come again to let us know, give us more details about how they would want to do that, because over the years we've had a problem of we've not actually used an integrated approach in our plans, our programs, what we want to do in the area of industry, in the area of manufacturing. But I think they have to come back to us to let us know a bit more about how they want to do that, because you realize that we have so many of the young ones there who wouldn't want to go into agriculture. They wouldn't want to go into agriculture because they are not certain about the value addition. They don't know what the income they hear of farmers not being well, not receiving good income for what they do. So I think that these are some of the gray areas that we think they have to really come back to us to let us know exactly what they mean by that. So
very well.
I didn't have the opportunity to really listen because I was quite so busy. It's just now that I'm really beginning to go through exactly the presentation that the Minister of Finance made. But I'll definitely come back with much more details on what I think should be done.
Very well, great one. Your plenary comments are still on point, nonetheless. Now let's look at the issue about spending. I mean, generally. So this is the finance minister talking about the not myth, but talking about the complaint or the concern by people that the economy was doing well because government or the indicators were looking good because government wasn't spending. Let's hear Atufo.
This is the reset President Mahama promise. It has been 6 months of hard work. We have lessened the burden on households and businesses. Mr. Speaker, contrary to the perception that we are not spending, we are indeed spending, and spending at the right places. We are making the right investment in the lives of the people of Ghana. Mr. Speaker, as we speak, an amount of $700 million US dollars of Eurobond obligations has been paid. An amount of 10 billion to domestic bondholders has been paid. Mr. Speaker, an amount of 2.9 billion Ghana cedis to the District Assembly's Common Fund has been paid. Mr. Speaker, an amount of 2.7 billion Ghana cedis to the Social Security and National Insurance Trust has been paid. Mr. Speaker, an amount of 9.1 billion Ghana cedis to the energy sector for stable power supply has been paid. Mr. Speaker, an amount of 5 billion Ghana cedis of arrest has been paid. Right, Honorable Speaker, an amount of 4.6 billion to the Ghana Education Trust Fund has been paid. Mr. Speaker, an amount of 1 billion Ghana cedis to the free secondary education program has been paid. Mr. Speaker, an amount of 4.6 billion Ghana cedis to the National Health Insurance Scheme has been paid. Right, Honorable Speaker, an amount of 1.4 billion for the National Health Insurance claims has been paid. Mr. Speaker, an amount of 252 million for vaccines and essential medicine has been paid. Mr. Speaker, an amount of 72.8 million Ghana cedis as capitation grant has been paid. Mr. Speaker, an amount of 895 million to the school feeding program has been paid. Right, Honorable Speaker, an amount of 477 million to the LEAP beneficiaries has been paid. Mr. Speaker, an amount of 122.8 million for BECE registration has been paid. Mr. Speaker, an amount of 300 million to the no-fee stress policy has been paid. Right, Honorable Speaker, an amount of 191.7 million Ghana cedis as teacher training allowances has been paid. Mr. Speaker, again, an amount of 462.6 million as nursing training allowances has been paid. Mr. Speaker, an amount of 25 million as assembly members allowance has been paid. Mr. Speaker, an amount of 21 million Ghana cedis for National Apprenticeship Program has been paid. Right, Honorable Speaker, an amount of 34.5 million to the Jumawa Program has been paid. Mr. Speaker, an amount of 2 billion Ghana cedis as goods and service to run effective and efficient government ministries, departments and agencies has been paid. And Mr. Speaker, as we speak, an amount of 2 billion Ghana cedis to save the National Investment Bank has been paid. Right, Honorable Speaker, non-interest expenditure of 84.2 billion Ghana cedis has been paid. So far, Mr. Speaker, from January to June, total cash of 114.5 billion has been paid from the consolidated fund.
All right, so that was the finance minister laying out a tall list of expenditure he says has been made. Franklin Kujo, the accusation has been that he is not spending. Now we've seen a list of expenditures is made, but a good chunk of them appear to be statutory things he has to pay anyway. NHIA or NHIS, there's a levy which is ring fence. He has to pay that. District Assembly's Common Fund, statutory, he has to pay. Get Fund, statutory, ring fenced, he has to pay. SNIT, he has to pay. So yes, he's making expenditures. He's spending, of course, in the right areas because he has to pay those ones. But when it comes to the discretionary expenditure, we've not seen a lot of it. We've not even seen contractors paid at all. And so they keep complaining. What do you have to say about this debate about spending or not spending?
Levy, which is ring fenced, you have to pay that. District Assembly's Common Fund, statutory, you have to pay. Yes, alright. Ring fenced, you have to pay.
Okay. Right.
Of course.
Can you hear me?
Yes, Franklin, I can hear you.
Discretionary expenditure. We've not seen a lot of it.
All right. Well, okay. So because of this delay, thank you very much. I heard the question. I think the question about spending is one that we need to interrogate a bit more and further. We need to integrate a bit more. Sorry. Look. Otherwise, all the interventions is mentioned, all the payments is done, are payments that governments do anyway. I mean, there have been times when, in the past, these payments have delayed. Can you imagine? I mean, isn't it so efficient that we've heard that this Assembly's Common Fund, all these things have been paid, and so nobody gets owed. You recall the last administration, they actually capped it. And it took so many quarters before they could even release them. So it is the efficiency of the spend which is also important. It may be true that some of the discretionary spend, but of course, look, any wise person who has witnessed the what I call the festival of freebies that were virtually given to all kinds of contractors, just wake up. I mean, I know a friend who had to just go to the ministry of the one that this woman used to supervise there. What is there a Kaswab down the call that ministry of Special Development? Look, this guy is a contractor. All he needed to do is to just send papers, and they told him, well, make sure the thing is about 500,000. When it's actually his real due was just about 30,000 or 40,000, right? They did tag out, wasted everybody's time, wasted all their money. You know. Please, let's not be remembered. Let's not remember some of these things. They wasted our money on frivolous interventions. So if this man comes and says, "Look, before I spend, I want to be sure that what I'm going to spend on has been vetted." So as we speak, the Minister for Roads and Highways or whatever you call it is actually on the call throughout the country, and until September they will have a full gamut. They will understand the full enchilada. As in exactly what they need to do, the costing, they want to verify the cost. So that nobody will sit somewhere, do some kind of contract, bring it and then come and collect money. That's what was happening under the last administration. I mean, we know these things. We are aware. You know, let's not be reminded. I have a tall list of such things. Please, they shouldn't get this some of us angry. And so this man, he said, no, I'm not going to do that. I'll vet everything you say. And this time around, he even says that the procurement authority, the person procuring, will be held in how do you call it, will be very responsible if something goes wrong after the contract has been okayed. This is something I think my good friend Brad Champo actually shares as well. I recall I had a conversation somewhere last year about procurement, and he did say that look, this procurement thing it starts and ends at the procurement officer's office, right? The only thing is that politicians don't really pay due regard to those people. So I think, clearly speaking, this whole conversation about this not spending enough. Why? I want to be wiser. In fact, I'm being wiser. Look, did you know that when I took it, did you know that You remember when he started the first budget, he said he was able to pay, he could manage the finances because he found out that there was this tax refund amount. Do you know what the last transaction was using that money for? Ernie. They used to pay Ernie. They used to pay very suspicious, very, very, very wicked contracts. That's what they were paying the money for. That one, you don't see it, it doesn't go to the consolidated fund. What are you talking about? Allow the man to vet all of these things. And I think that too is respecting, is being a true professional to the accounting and the finance profession. Please.
Very well.
That's what he's doing. And it's important that we vet all of these things, as you say, and he will never pay you on. You know, I think this is the type of conversation we should be having. So it's not a question about not spending, and no. He's being wise. He's being very wise. I'll not do, look, there is sector. Mr. Foucault, sorry, that response you read from my good brother, the former Rose Minister, one of the funniest explanations I've heard in recent times. I mean, what is this? The money has been allocated for a particular project. Then your response, where's the money? Your response is that, other projects are also allocated as part of the money. So why is the money for that project that's allocated? That's a sensible basic question you should ask. Somebody is saying you've chopped the money. The question is you've actually misappropriated it because you use it for other stuff, other things. That's what my good brother doesn't want to do. He says to take the money, use the money for this purpose. So look, this and by the way, that last administration approved. I saw it. Look, we lived it. We saw it. What are they talking? So please, none should raise their finger about those rather prudent expenditure plans. Well, I'm not saying everything is doing kosher, but at least I've tasted water and I've tasted alcohol.
Very well.
I rather booze on water. I rather drink alcohol. It tells you that you guys were doing what? You were living a champagne lifestyle when your budget was like a Patashi budget. Who does that? Thank you.
All right, Frankie, thanks for that. Yes, Nelson, about the spending. You know, the expenditure that Ato is making, there are things he has to do anyway. Government workers have to be paid.
Yes.
You can't say you won't pay them because you're not. So some expenditure will surely happen.
Yes, sure.
So if you pay SNIT, I mean, yes, you have to pay. If you pay NHIA or NHIS, you have to pay. If you pay Get Fund, you have to pay. But where you have to pay perhaps to stimulate growth, discretionary spending, etc., we've not seen a lot of that. You share that?
Yes. So that has been my position right from the word go. You realize that compensation was paid. In fact, compensation actually went up by about 1.3 billion Ghana cedis, which he attributed to the last minute employment that was done in the fourth quarter of 2024. So we don't have problem with that. If you look at debt service also reduced a bit. In fact, he said they paid about 59 billion, in terms of debt service. And I'm also happy that he's bringing back the sinking fund. In fact, when you owe somebody, you must know the source of which you are going to pay the person. And so the sinking fund, the dollar sinking fund, and the CD sinking fund, he said from August they will start putting some money there. Then in terms of the contract, you see, as I did indicate, all the payment that the finance minister made, they are statutory payment. DCAF, National Health Insurance, I mean, these are statutory payment. But expenditure that will actually provoke economic activity, we are yet to see it. I give an example of the contractors. When you pay, in fact, every country that is in construction boosts economic activity. And so you release 10 million Ghana cedis to the contractor, he is going to buy, materials. Okay, and so we haven't seen that much yet, and that is what is actually accounting for the slow nature of the growth that we are witnessing. Even though overall growth is 5.3, we expect growth to be more than that. And so to the extent that he's not doing bigger ticket payments, that is what people are presuming to be that the government is not paying. So for me, I share in that idea that the government is not really spending on activities that can promote economic growth. Now he made mention of the fact that henceforth all contract must be priced in Ghana cedis. In fact, when you read the Foreign Exchange Act, it is illegal to actually price in foreign currency in Ghana. In fact, there are private schools in Ghana whose school fees are in dollars. When you go to East Legon, most of the real estate companies, their products,
there are billboards in town.
They are priced, yes, they are in dollars. In fact, when you go to Tanzania now, it is a crime to actually buy something in a foreign currency. It's a crime. So I think with all these measures that he put in place, then regarding the contract, he said that no, a covered entity can actually approve a contract themselves before sending the invoice to the minister to pay. And so I think this is a step in the right direction, because in the past all agencies were approving contracts at all levels. A reason why you realize that contractors submit their payment certificate for so long a time, but because it wasn't captured in the, in fact, when you go to the private sector, I am a head of finance for a company. We prepare budget at the end of the day. When there is something that you need to buy within the year which is not covered for, when you send it to your MD, who ask you, Nelson, has this thing been captured in the budget? When you say no, then you be like, okay, then we need board approval. You understand? So if we can implement some of these strict financial management regulations in the private sector to the public sector, we can cut down significantly on unnecessary expenditure. So I think the directive regarding contract being approved by the finance ministry before it can be given to any contractor is a step in the right direction. So regarding expenditure, I think the government is doing very well trying to cut down on expenditure. However, we haven't heard or we haven't seen any noise regarding the secondary schools. Regarding, since they came to power, there hasn't been any noise regarding food and other recurrent expenditure needs of the secondary, which means that they're actually satisfying them. When you go to the National Health Insurance Scheme, no service provider has ever said that since the government came to power they have not been paid. It means that they are satisfying that obligation. In fact, the District Assembly's Common Fund, as he himself mentioned, has also been satisfied. So regarding the statutory mandatory payment, yes, I think the government is doing well, but discretionary expenditure that can provoke economic activity, I think we are not yet there.
Very well. Your government is spending at the right places, it claims, but this expenditure here, government has no option than to do them. They are statutory. A lot of them ring fenced. You have to make them DCF, DACF, Get Fund, and all of that. So it is not entirely inaccurate to say that the government is not spending.
Very inaccurate.
Even though these ones are some expenditure as well.
In fact, it's very unfortunate that maybe many people didn't get the time. What the finance minister mentioned are just key highlights out of what has been submitted to Parliament. Okay. And I will demonstrate that to the listeners and to yourself why people who make the argument that government is not spending on discretionary expenditure that provoke growth, maybe they haven't really followed it properly. Okay. First of all, but before I do that, I just wanted to respond to this quick thing. Look, monetary policy rates, the relationship or the correlation between that one and that of inflation is not the type of understanding my brother stipulated it here. So I just wanted to clear that. You see, the idea is that government set monetary policy rate as an inflation targeting tool. So if in a year they realize that we have excess liquidity in the market and they want to reduce the excess liquidity that will cause demand pull inflation, government increases policy rate to make sure that cost of capital in the banks goes up so that people will not be able to get more. Do you get that point? So it is rather government using monetary policy to target disinflation. And this is not new. If you go to 2017, when the MPP took office, we had a policy rate for the entire year at 25.5%. And the idea was to headline disinflation. If you come to 2024, January to June had a policy rate of 29%. July to November had a policy rate of 29%. only from November to December. In fact, July to November 7th at 29%. Only from November 8th to December that we reduce the policy rate to 27%. So it is just an inflation targeting tool. What we rather use in the determination of the lending rate is the Ghana reference rate. And I'm saying that even with all reducing the policy rate in 2024 to 27% in December, we still crowded out credit growth to private sector. Unlike now, we have the Ghana reference rate reduced to 24%. We have the lending rate in the commercial banks now from 25 to 28%, yet access to credit or private sector capital growth has increased by 31.3%.
That's still high. I mean,
it's
still high.
I'm not saying it is not, but I'm saying that we have to juxtapose it and understand the context differently. Number two, NHIA, Get Fund, and other statutory payments. First of all, I'll give you an example for Gonja East Municipal Assembly. The last quarter of 2024, they received an amount of 230,000 Ghana cedis. As we speak, the minimum that has been released to any district, the minimum for first and second quarter is over 5 million Ghana cedis. Minimum. In fact, the expectation was that in the 4 quarters of the year, we wanted to release the minimum of 22 million. But you know, the release of Get Fund, NHIA, Get Fund, and these are functions of revenue. So it depends on your revenue performance. That is what will influence the disbursement. So I'm saying that things have improved much better. Apart from first quarter and November, last quarter of last year, they never disbursed any statutory payments on time. In fact, in 2023, only 19% of what was accrued to NHI was actually disbursed. They actually even mortgaged some of them and used it to get few loans. And now, Atufosin has absorbed all those statutory debts as a central government debt and free them to perform its rightful duties under the mandate that establishes those statutory funds. So based on that, also, normally, MPP regime, they used to send only 50% retained at the headquarters for other payments, and then they transfer the rest. Now, government is only retaining 20% and transfer 80% directly into the assemblies. That is the bold steps we are talking about. Now, you look at financial sector performance. My brother was talking about interest, like I already said. But look at a banking sector that we use 30.3 billion Ghana cedis to clean it up. Yet, he talked about non-performing roles are still high. Look at the participating rate of local banks in Ghana. Can you talk about them? What are the local owned banks in Ghana as we speak that are private owned?
Just a few.
Just a few. Even the banks that were set up for industrial revolution and agricultural transformation, NIB and ADB, were on their knees, despite we spending colossal amount of 30.3 billion Ghana cedis. With 3.4 billion, now NIB is on the part of profitability. Just reversing capital adequacy ratio of negative 53% to 23% positive with 3.4 billion. Now coming to our reserves are built because of price of gold. That one, I don't think we have faulted anybody for attributing reasons as to why the reserves are growing. But we are saying that tonnage has also increased in terms of gold. So it is not going to be fair to just say that because price has changed, that is what is reflecting in the reserves. Also look at the tonnage or the export volumes. Let me just leave the rest and come to public sector debt.
You should be wrapping up.
I'll wrap up in 2 minutes. ATO has done well. I have always maintained part of the reason why the MPP left us a debt stock of about 726 billion was not because they had borrowed every month. It was just because of exchange differentials. They couldn't manage the external component of our debts. With just the performance of what we are seeing, the external component, we have saved this country almost about 113 billion. That is the type of legacy we must celebrate the finance minister and the government for. Without doing much in terms of just paying debt. This is not interest cost too. Domestic interest cost has actually gone down because of the TBA reduction by about 4.9 billion. This is not payment of debt. This is just management of your exchange rate has reduced your debt by 113 billion. And let me come to expenditure. I'll be done with the expenditure. Let me tell you why I think people are not being honest with this, or they are not looking at it from the perspective that they should look at it. Currently, as of June 2025, the total expenditure of government is 109.6 billion. This is what government has spent so far. Government had, in the budget at the beginning, we wanted to do expenditure commitment of 270 billion, right? This is on commitment basis. And when we say commitment basis, look, in fact, this whole idea of reporting now in commitment basis is because of the new IFRS standard and IFSAS and that of even IMF and the World Bank standards. It doesn't tell a full story. You know why? Because, for example, if we go and borrow $350 million to construct Terminal 3 in 2016, and you design your repayment plan, in 2016, under the commitment basis accounting, you are expected to add all the $350 million as your expenditure. Meanwhile, you don't spend that money in that year because of the accruals. So now, on cash basis, what we actually wanted to spend, we budgeted to spend 206 billion, and this is just two quarters is 109. Are you telling me?
So that's half of it.
Almost more than half. In 2 quarters, and we have 4 quarters. And normally, economic activities are also not naturally buoyant in the first 2 quarters. We must get that. So if you are doing 109 out of 206 billion, you cannot say government is not spending. We are living within the means, and we are making sure that we are just spending at the right spot. And that is what is reflected in terms of our credit ratings and then investor confidence. I've already stated that net capital inflows has increased by $792 million. And then look at Fitch, look at Moody's. Currently, the creditworthiness of this country has improved. And that is how come, I'm sure later, you look at the book runner system that we are building to return back to the capital market, because it guarantees us loans at concessional rates. We are not going to borrow recklessly. We are not going to do kinky parties and those things. We are making it is reflected in the humility of the finance minister, because despite all these successes, he has talked about wage bill is still a fiscal stress. He has talked about what's the name? The SOE's debt, Cocoa Board, ECG, Bank of Ghana, negative equity of 53 billion. These are all things that pose fiscal risk to our economy, and that is the humility of the finance minister. I need to comment.
Well, Foko, the final word on this one before I take the very final one from Prof. Yes, they said it's not entirely the case that they are not spending; they are spending, and the figures Issa just gave, total to spend this year 206 billion. They've so far spent 109 billion. Half year. That's good enough. That's good. And also the point Franklin made about the fact that statutory payments appear to be on track. None is in arrears so much compared to what we've seen many years or some years ago. So it is not a bad situation really to say that, or it is not really accurate to say government is not spending. When you look at the figures, they spend more than half of what they intend to spend for the year, and that's been on track.
Yeah, thank you, Salam. I'm happy my brother here, Issa, confirmed or affirmed what I stated earlier on, that the government was actually doing what it must do anyway, which is paying statutory payments or making statutory payments.
But in the past, we've had governments, like Franklin said, which were in arrears for many quarters.
Yeah, no, I get. You see, we can always compare and say this one delayed and all that. But the fact that I'm saying is that the payments that have been made are more statutory in nature. That is fact. What was presented. You see, and nothing to the contrary has been submitted here. It's just to say that yes, some payments have been made. It's significant, yes, but these are statutory. Discretionary, we haven't seen that, and contractors will attest to this. Solom, I want to make this point quickly before we run out of time on NIB, because I headed NIB, and I know the minister made a statement on it as one of the payments that he's made.
2 billion.
That is good. I'll say yes, good minister. You put money to recapitalize the bank. That is good, but some of the statements that were made were not accurate, and I would want to put this on record, and I would actually come out in a broader way on it, because I believe we are all, responsible enough to give Ghanaians the information that is really accurate for their use. Okay. So NIB, when was the board inaugurated? The board was inaugurated
about 2 weeks ago
on 10th July. They had their first meeting on 17th July. So the sort of transformational work that the minister put across that had been done at NIB, it's mind-boggling that the institution had been transformed so much. Risk control, embedded operational risk rigor, and whatever. When a board was put in place just some 2 weeks ago, that is interesting.
We know organizations do things and the boards come later to ratify it.
When was the executive even appointed?
Maybe February, March.
Yeah. You know how long and the work that goes into transforming a bank. A universal bank. So you have no idea. So what I'm saying is credit should be given where it's due, and where you have not done the work, say that yes, this has happened, credit should be given to whoever did it, and we are here to support. You put in capital and I say well done, that is good, but give credit where it is due. The people that did this transformation, you know the work that some of us we did at NIB.
You can't tell.
When we came in, even accounts for 2017 and 2018 had not been audited. We came in 2019, we had to go back to audit accounts. And that is when we realized of this big capital hold that the bank had. And since then, we put in a strategic document, a strategic plan to transform this bank with key stakeholders, with international firms to transform this bank, having 3 phases. Stabilization phase, restructuring phase, and then recapitalization phase. We completed the stabilization phase, ensuring that the bank was stabilized. Because when we came in, the bank was bleeding. Okay, he talked about saving 900 staff. Does he know how we got to this 900? When we came in, the bank was staffed with 1,597 heads. Okay, this was completely overstaffed. We had to work hard to downsize to this 900. That is talking about reducing it by about 43%. Downsizing to bring it to this optimal level, which is supported by the bank, supported by the balance sheet. So these jobs were not at risk. As he's saying, he saved these heads. This bank was losing so much. Balance sheet was not managed well. It was not optimized. We had to come in to do that. We had to come in to impair all that we had to impair to make sure the book was clean. So whatever that comes in later on was going to give us some good profit. Look, we transformed the bank so much. When I was leaving office as the managing director, on a monthly basis, we started making profit. Unconsolidated, yes, we had some losses, but it was moving to break even. So the new management that came, they can't tell us that they've had enough time to do so much transformation as they are talking about. We used years to transform this bank. The risk control that he's talking about. When we came to the bank, there was no enterprise risk model in the bank. I personally put this in place. Enterprise risk model. The documents that I put in place, we put over 60 policies in place. All these are there. The operational risk rigor model, who put it in place? We put it in place. I manage risks, I manage operations directly under me. So the work that was done by the previous administration that prepared the grounds, and the restructuring and the recapitalization started. The government brought in part of the capital. So we were waiting for the rest to come. You brought that rest, which is good, and I've commended you for that. But let's not claim that we've done A, B, C to transform the bank. The bank was transformed before the new management came in. They should show us one thing that they've done that has, transformed the bank, that has impacted the bank in any way, aside bringing in this capital. This significant capital, even if you sleep, if you go to sleep, Solomon, this, I want Ghanaians to hear this, even if you go to sleep and you put this money in overnight with Bank of Ghana, you make the kind of profit that you're talking about. So just, you see, performance of a financial institution is not just about a profit figure. There are various metrics to assess the performance of a financial institution. So the capital has come in, is big. Put it in T-bills, put it in overnight. You make profit. But the transformation was done by the previous administration.
Right.
And I'll find time to make this known to Ghanaians.
Right.
But when you are done, please, I want you to go.
Right now, there's a smaller topic we want to deal with, which I'll give everybody 2 minutes each to deal with on that. Let me go to Prof. Prof, you've not had a bite at the issue about spending. Maybe just a quick one on that. Prof. William Brafo. Hello, Prof. Okay, so it doesn't appear we have Prof. So we move to the next subject, which is on the Attorney General and the non prosecutor thing. I know you are itching to make some point, but we will have some more time for that later. The Attorney General entered non prosecutor for Dr. Dufour and 7 others, so dealing with the banking sector, clean up, and of course taking it up from the NIB point of view, etc. So the Attorney General is of the view that once they've made some payments, it will only be useful to continue with the prosecution, as it were. This is quite political, but so let me start with Issa. Issa, we saw the banking sector crisis, huge chunks of money sunk in there, etc. People must pay for it. I mean, people must pay the price for it.
Yes.
And so you don't say that you are, because people are paying the money, you want to discontinue the matter. I can go take money or do something wrong. When I'm caught, I'll say I'll pay back so that I'm free. If I'm not caught, I go with the loot or I'll go with whatever. That, many have said, is not the way to go. People must pay the price. What's your thinking on that?
All right. So, but I hope I'll use some 30 seconds to say this one and then NIB. But I'll say that what's the whole objective of ensuring that proper accountability measures are put in place in governance is that you must ensure value for money in the use of public funds. Is that not the case? So what is the intention behind public prosecutions, especially when it comes to misuse of public funds? The idea is that, one, this government's approach is not necessarily on custodial sentences. I don't believe in the idea that when somebody steals money and the person is politically exposed, if you focus on custodial sentence, the judicial system, the delays in judicial verdicts, it can drag. The time you put the person in jail, the person's political party assume power, and the first year they are given a presidential pardon. And then once presidential pardon is granted, the money that he has looted, what becomes of it? I am the person who believes in the plea bargain system, where the idea is that when people admit wrong, we should rather now make it more punitive in terms of the interest cost that we must add up to when people agree that they have committed crimes against this country. So for that matter, they want to pay back. So what's the essence of just going directly on custodial prosecutions when you can actually return with interest of money stolen back to the state? And for even issues of Dufours and the others, look, these people were victims of political persecution, not grounded in any review. In 2016, an asset quality review was conducted that was sponsored by the IMF as part of the extended credit facility. That shows the health of the banking sector. If you look at page 19 of the asset quality review, it was clear by the IMF that what we should intensify is good corporate governance mechanisms. In fact, that's why we even introduced the term limit for MDs at various banks. So when MPP came, the first thing they should have done was refer back to the asset quality review that was done on the health of the banking industry. So some of these decisions that they had taken in the past, for me, I followed recent court at the Financial High Court ruling that on some of the rules that they gave to Dr. Papa Kosindum's GN Bank and even Dufour Unibank. And you could see that it was hardly taken. The decision against them was hardly taken. And so I don't have any problem with regards to the approach taken by the Attorney General. However, I just want to caution that people should not be given the laxity that when they steal money or when they misapply public funds and they are caught, they can just return the money. The idea is that we must intensify punitive measures that would be detrimental for them to even commit something like that. That's what I will say about this Attorney General issue. But I want to talk about the NIB. No, it's important.
Just 1 minute.
Just 1 minute.
Just quickly.
Just 1 minute. On page 24 of the highlights, these are the following measures the finance minister said they have put in place. One is they injected a total of 450 million in cash because they had a negative capital adequacy ratio. What it simply means is that when you take the conversion rate, or they call the minimum requirement, and that of the margins that they don't put, people can, when all customers even come to their bank, they can't get money. Now, they issued marketable bonds.
No, Solomon, I want to, you see, when you are talking about financial institutions, myself, until today, I haven't spoken about NIB in the public. If you say when customers come to the bank, they can't get their money, be careful. We are talking about a bank. That has never happened.
It
has never happened. So
let's be guided. You have a few seconds to conclude.
No problem, because of the implication it has on it. But I still stand by what I said, though. Number two,
customers couldn't get their money.
I said when all. That's the way that
every bank is like that.
There's no bank in the world.
Because they loan out the money when the money.
There's no bank in the world that if all customers went to
at the same time,
there's no bank in the world.
Hey, you don't want me to?
No. So we are talking to the very world.
I just don't want to only about it that they didn't do well.
No,
I wanted to say that, but because you say he was there.
No.
But let me.
It's not only about.
All right. Let's be careful. So
yes, we have to know.
So let's be guided.
Yes,
let's be guided.
Yes, we will take it elsewhere in Parliament to talk about it. Issued marketable bonds with a face value of about 1.5 billion to the National Investment Bank, and then transferred 500 million government of Ghana shares in Nestle Ghana Limited to the National Investment Bank. These are the interventions that was done by the Ministry of Finance. And I'm saying that the legacy of the past administration is that they left a negative capital adequacy ratio of 53. In fact, this MD and the Ministry of Finance has increased salaries of all workers at the NIB as motivation for them to work in bringing back the bank. And this, he can confirm that salaries of them, even with just how many months now since Chief Doriwura went to NIB, and he's already realized that employees' motivation is the stimulus in terms of promoting inclusive growth, and that is the legacy, and that is the things that has occasioned this massive success story that we are telling. And so for me, I'm not questioning the management that was done by the previous administration, but all the things you said you had done left the bank in a dire state. That's what I'll say.
So the point was that it was worse before you took over in 2019. It was worse, but they managed to bring it to 7
The asset quality review disagrees with the worst he's talking about.
Great. Your point
sure.
on the action by the Attorney General.
Yes, I have been in the financial sector for quite a long time now, and I'm very familiar with what actually transpired at the time. You realize that even this Unibank case went to the High Court, went to the Court of Appeal, and ended up at the Supreme Court. In fact, when Holder Holdings, who were the shareholders of Unibank, took BOG to court, they based the argument on Article 23, Administrative Justice, and Article 29, of the 1992 Constitution, which the High Court, held in favor of the Central Bank, that the decision of the Central Bank to revoke the license was grounded in law. Then they went further to the Court of Appeal, and Court of Appeal actually set aside the decision of the High Court. And then they went further to the Supreme Court, and Supreme Court actually set aside that of the Court of Appeal and upheld that of the High Court. Now, there are two schools of thought. The first school of thought has to do with those who are coming from anti-corruption point of view. They are saying that the first school of thought is actually coming from the anti-corruption guys' point of view, that if this is what the Attorney General is deciding, then it may open up the floodgate And so tomorrow, Mr. A may cause financial loss to the state to the tune of 100 million Ghana cedis. And if he's able to pay 60 million Ghana, because the recovery benchmark is 60%. And so if they recover 60 billion Ghana cedis, it means that they are going free to enjoy the 40 million. Yes, so that is the school of thought of the anti-corruption campaign guys. Then there is another school of thought say, hey, I mean, half a loaf is better than none. And so, to the extent that you can recover something, why don't you let these sleeping dogs lie? I think we need to find a balance between the two, so that people cannot just take advantage, because this will serve as a precedent. Somebody can say, okay, after all, it was done to somebody. And don't forget that there are so many cases regarding this banking sector cleanup in court. Just 2 or 3 days ago, the MD for Beach Capital, yes, the court said that he has no case to answer. And so you realize that this may sort of derail certain level of confidence within the financial sector. So I think that we should find a balance between the 60% recovery benchmark and also the guys from the anti-corruption campaign side, so that nobody will just steal state money or embezzle state money, and when the time has come for accountability, then he will go and plead for the fact that, okay, I can restitute about 60%, so let me go free. So that is my comment on this.
Yeah, so there's also another school of thought of what benefits is it really to put somebody behind bars, feed the person and all of that, when you can get some money. So again, the point you make is good. That is the balance that
we need to strive. Don't forget, I mean, in law there is something we call non-custodial asset recovery, where you don't necessarily put a person behind bars, but for the purposes of public policy and purposes of public financial management, you try as much as possible to do recovery instead of sentencing the person to court. And some of these things too, of course, they have political undertone, because when the Supreme Court upheld the decision of the High Court, now the Attorney General is saying, hey, I mean, once you're able to give me 60%, we can find a level playing field. I think we need to find a balance between the two, so that people cannot take advantage of the system to actually cause more damage to the country.
Professor William Brafin Sedu, are you there? Is Prof there? Yes. Yes. Your thoughts generally on the Attorney General's action, entering nolle prosequi in this matter of Dr. Dufour and 7 others, given that some monies have been recovered and so they should go free. Yes, can you hear me?
Yes, hello?
Yes, can you hear me?
Your line was quite faint.
Yes, I'm saying that the Attorney General this week entered nolle prosequi in the matter of the Republic versus Dr. Dufour and 7 others. The matter was that the state advanced some monies, over 600 million cedis to Unibank, but they claimed that the monies were not used properly, and so they were starting trial. They were starting criminal trial for this. The Attorney General entered nolle prosequi. He's not supposed to offer any explanation, but he did say that because some of the money has been paid, meeting a certain threshold, it doesn't make sense anymore to keep having them in court on the criminal charges, and for that reason, the charges, the Attorney General or the state was no longer interested in the matter. I'll just taking your thoughts on this and what implication this have on the fight against corruption and even on the banking sector generally.
Yeah, are you talking about the case that has been dropped?
Exactly so.
Okay, you want my opinion on that? I think if we can, I think I heard my learned friend talk about finding a balance, doing things in a manner that would not make people deliberately do the wrong thing and then come to tell us that because they can pay back, they shouldn't be punished. I think we should find a middle ground, because the act itself is never right. The act itself is never right. We are talking about the incentives, and we are talking about penalties. We are talking about actions or putting a structure in place that would not make people make the state lose significant amount of money that can be put into development. So I think we should find a middle ground. We should have a situation where the action itself must be punished, even if there are mitigating strategies, ways to recover. Because we have a situation where for persistently we've had issues with our fiscal stance as a country. We've for several years been operating huge budget deficit. We need money to develop as a country. But also I want to make this statement, which is not necessarily related to the question that you've asked, which is that we conducted a study that showed that over 60% of the capacity of the tax potentials of the country have not been harnessed. We've done things, put structures in place, institutions in place. We have regulatory framework, but when it comes to implementation, it's an issue. So more than 60% of our ability to mobilize revenue has not been exploited, which means that part of the problem is coming from corruption. Part of the problem is coming from underhand dealings. The fact that even those who collect tax revenues themselves are culprits. Okay, so what I'm trying to say is that we should not allow people to go free just because they are ready to pay back. But whatever the action itself must be punished to deter others from doing the same thing. There must be a deterrence, a structure or a system that deters people from doing what is wrong. We need money to advance, we need money to develop. And if even in our tax system or tax collection system we have this problem, and then we come to the banking sector, we see what is happening over there as well. So I think that we should look back into the regulatory framework, look at whether institutions are working or not, the quality of the institutions themselves, and then find a middle ground, and then be able to harness as much revenue as is required to develop as a country. Then generally, that's the statement, the response that I can give.
Very well. Thanks so much, Professor William Brafo and thanks so much for your time this afternoon. Let me take Franklin Kujo on this AG before entry of Nolly prosecutor matter. Franklin, others have said that this is a stab in the back of the fight against corruption. Others think that was the point. Why keep people behind bars when you can have the recovery of the money to help the country? Where do you stand?
Thanks so much, Professor William Brafo. Thanks so much.
Okay.
All
right. Okay. So well, good to see you, William. It's been a while. First of all, I think that I'm a bit worried. I'm worried because even though this Nolo Prosecutor, I don't even know what you guys it's a term in law. I don't know where this will be. I think this Nolo Prosecutor and then contempt of court are becoming too dangerous terminologies in this country. I don't think we are trying to serve ourselves quite well. What is this? I mean, look, one person is doing so hard to make sure the revenues of the country are enhanced, and then waste is eliminated. We need more money. If anybody has committed some sort of a foul or some mismanaged or whatever it is, don't forget these were state funds.
And the people seem to have agreed that yes, they mismanaged and misappropriated, and they want to pay back. It's been how many years? Almost 10 good years, or better to 10 good years. What's the time value of money? If that money were you of Salom, if that money were Citi TV, Citi FM's money, you think that the way we treat it, that you lend money to someone, and then after 7 to 8 years, the person can say, "Oh, I'll pay the 60% of the original sum," and then we are mollycoddling, somehow cuddling the person. We don't even know how they got the 60%. Where is the 60%? Is it paid into consolidated fund? Is it lying somewhere? We don't know. In fact, the two men I respect them very well. They are my friends, Ayine and Justice Sai. When I saw that letter from Justice Sai, I almost puked. I said, "What is this? This is not what you were preaching when you were in the position." No, not at all. I think it is important that we go back for that money. The money should be charged at the interest rate of 25%, which has been then, which clearly must be the average interest rate from the Bank of Ghana. I'm not even using commercial rate. If I use commercial rate, I can move. But they collected the money to do commercial operations. And they should have been paying around 35-40% interest rate for the past 7 years or 8 years. But they are not even going to pay any interest. You think if you were the one, so you were the one who took this money, you think the state to treat you this way? No. And I think it's important that people who, I hold this person, so he did come to me, he told me about his problems and all of that. I understood it, but at the point I also thought that there must be restitution. Restitution here means you pay back what you actually took. If you now agree that the former Minister of Finance was hounding them, fine. But the fundamental issue is that the money were lost. Monies were lost. So if you're not going to pay back the money, we shouldn't beg you, we shouldn't mollycoddle you, pay back at the interest rate. I'm even charitable, 25% every year for that money. I disagree with that. I disagree with that.
Very well. Thanks so much, Franklin. Thank you so much. You have the final word in a minute. Final word on this.
Yeah, thank you, Salom. I believe my colleague panelists have said it all. I can't add much. I'm aligned to their position. The thing is about, from my side, probably that I'll add is the principle. 60% recovery. Are we setting some precedents here? Is this something that we'll do across board? If not, then why do this exceptionally and all that? So I'm aligned to comments by my colleagues, but I mean, certain precedents, I mean, ready to do it across board. If not, why this exceptional case and all that? That's about it.
Very well. Thanks so much, gentlemen, for your time. Thanks so much for doing the listening, wherever you did it from. This is how we conclude today's edition of The Big Issue. We've been live on 97.3 Citi FM and also on our socials. My name is Salom Adunu. Have a good afternoon.
When are you gonna say goodbye? Hey, Robert Mugabe, don't you think it's time to say goodbye? Hey, Robert Mugabe, don't you think it's time?